artist. And let me tweet my YouTube link out here as well. Hopefully I gotta make sure my audio is good too. I think my audio should be good. Hopefully I'm not too low. Actually, let me now I'm gonna tweet the YouTube version out. But man, we got a lot covered today. I'm gonna go off because I one thing that I've been pretty consistent on. I always told people that I vote against my Republican standards. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I draw the line hard at being a war criminal, being a warmonger, for example. So I would never in a million years vote for someone like Joe Biden, for example. But if you have someone who's a fresh Democratic senator, you got someone who's absolutely corrupt in the Senate, you want to get rid of them. I understand that. My Republican senator. The point that I always make, and the point I want to get clear to people, while I get the YouTube link ready, because we're gonna cover the Democratic floor vote, the consequences of that, who actually sided on the right side. If you haven't been paying attention, you'll be surprised the small amount of people who could even make the basic decision of taking care of the American people. And my greater overall point is this is what I was tweeting about on Twitter that I have a lot of liberals that really upset me right now, because I'm like, if you want to support and vote in the Georgia Senate race, that's great, but I am seeing people greatly overstate the importance of the Senate race. Dr. Soviet, how you doing, man? Thank you for being one of the first. Oh no, so is Sienna. Sienna won the first. You always the first comment.
Yeah.
you on the game. Let me tweet my YouTube link out, and then we can actually officially get started. Usually I do about the first 10 minutes. I'm just kind of just riffing, do my introduction, then we did get to my real stories, and I have a new guest as well that I'm gonna start utilizing on our show. We just met not too long ago. It was Carlos, right?
Yeah, I go by Carlos.
All right, cool.
So, Carlos Munkus. Twitter is twitter.com/level_headed.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right, cool. We do our formal introduction here soon. I still got to tweet my YouTube.
And I'm Sienna. Hi.
Yeah. People in the chat, people that watch my stream normally know who Sienna is. She one of my earliest supporters, and my thing is what I wanted to do is, especially starting next year, I'm gonna get more of my people who subscribe to me, my early people, because I'm a citizen journalist. I'm not an elitist that believe that only a certain amount of people should have voices. I want to pass the mic to the people. So that's why I'm more than happy to have people that support my channel on. We can riff, we can talk a little bit. So I'm glad we finally had Sienna on yesterday. We had Meganator on yesterday as well. And now we got my good friend Carlos, who's going to help me out quite a bit. Because everyone know my main thing, I appreciate all you guys from watching and supporting me because the merits of my ideas. But I'm still learning how to be a streamer. I mean, I'm very clear about that. I started actually streaming in September, so I'm very excited to have Carlos on to help me out here. And I already see Megan there in the chat. We got Charlie J. So all the crew is gathering. Let me tweet out my YouTube link, so because people usually a lot of people don't like using Twitch for a reason. Let me God damn it. Let me go forward. And if you guys have any questions, like I said, my first thing I want to talk about is the NDAA vote and what that means, and then we're gonna get into one of my main topics I cover on my show, which is the constant human rights violations of our government and why defund the police is the new civil rights era 2.0. And just like the civil rights faced back in the day, it was constant propaganda they had to deal with, and we're dealing with constant propaganda against defund the police. It's constant propaganda. So I know you guys love it when I debunk that in live time. I got a great article we're gonna go through. Live now, discussing. What I just tweet? Let me send this tweet when we get started, guys. And my chat, for anyone new in the chat now, my thing is I usually try to answer as many questions as I can. So if you guys want to start off with some questions as a good warm up, that'd be great. Let me put my YouTube right here. So that'd be my first segment discussing how the Senate Democrats are fucking useless and why Mitch McConnell is the best ally. Is that they're not even spicy because my tweet that's going off right now. Also, maybe we should do a segment where I like debunk that in live time too, because it's funny whenever I hear the liberal class who get mad at me for going after politicians and their response to that. And my thing is like, who the fuck logs on Twitter.com? Who loads up that app? What kind of ghoul does that just to defend the ruling class? And I quote tweet a few of them. I try to respond to a few of them, but now it's to the point where it's too much for me to handle. So one thing I'm thinking about doing, like, what if I actually was on air and I can debunk these live? Because sometimes I don't want to give them the attention. Sometimes I just don't got enough time to rebuke whenever I go viral a little bit. So let's do that. And plus, I kind of want to show you guys the absolute shit show that is the neoliberal meltdown whenever I tweet anything in the trend tab. All right, I'm in the, let me check out the chats I missed and then we get into the Democratic Senate story. Actually, I'm gonna put Carlos' information on here.
Oh, the next segment we can do after this one is the town hall from last night because I just saw Meg.
Oh yeah, the
saying
the one. Yeah. We can definitely talk about that. I watched the whole thing obsessively. So it's Carlos, and I'll put Sienna on call here. Oh man, see the thing is, there's a lot of resources being used. Hopefully with everything I got up, it doesn't slow the stream down too much. There we go. On call Carlos and Sienna. We see how it goes. I've been working on my biggest problem I have, especially with guests. Hopefully the stream doesn't lag. But if it does, it's cool. We figure it out as we go.
Stream looks good right now.
Looks good right now. All right, cool. I'm just a little bit worried about that. So let me
Yeah,
get
have
to
it open tab.
Yeah, let me. Damn, I already see the chat's going off. Megan there said people need to be in the street. You already know how I feel about this, Meg. You already know. OD Gaming's in the house. How you doing? Glad to see you here. Wavy God NYC. I haven't seen you in the last few streams, but I'm glad you were able to join us here today. And Sienna, don't you get started. don't get started with the free jacket stuff today. I brought them on. Like, I did the longer stream that I was planning on doing yesterday, because I wanted to keep it going on.
Half of it was just him, Nick, trying to find out why he couldn't hear me, Meg, and Jackie.
Yeah, we had our technical issues today, and we had our technical issue yesterday, and I'm very looking forward to see what's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be great. You never know what kind of surprises in store for us. Anyway, let me. I think I got everything ready for the story I'm about to run. So the big thing, because we covered it as it was breaking, because they was doing the votes on the NDAA, and so for y'all who don't know, Bernie Sanders and the few Senate Democrats got together and they decided they was like, all right, we're gonna block the support of the NDAA unless we get $2,000 relief checks. And this is something that Trump started. Trump vetoed that, and you saw how quickly bipartisan consensus can come when it comes to propping up the war machine, right? And if you think the Democrats retaking the Senate will mean anything in regards to the quality of your life, you are deeply mistaken. It was Bernie Sanders, Ed Markey, Elizabeth Warren, Chris Van Hollen, Jeff Markley, and Ron Wyden. I think that's 5. Yeah, that's 5 of them. Elizabeth Warren is very, very shocking, actually. But I get credit where credit's due. You guys know how I feel about Warren. But they was the only Democrats who opposed the NDA and stood their ground on the $2,000 checks. Only 5 of them. So after this vote, after the Democratic Party betrayed working class people once again, I mean, they got a long history of this, but now they literally did it again. And now we have the guy in charge, Joe Biden, who is responsible for the smaller relief checks. He helped negotiated that behind the scenes. Him and his good friend Mitch McConnell, they're back at it again. The austerity duo. So now that we have him in charge, and we have a potentially Republican Senate, and then this is the thing I want you guys to understand. Even if they flip that Senate race, and you still gonna have intense opposition. So I don't want to hear shit about how the Georgia Senate races are so important. And I think, like, for example, if you're someone in Georgia, I mentioned this earlier. If you live in Georgia, and if you want to vote against Purdue and Kelly, they are some of the most corrupt people in the country. So I definitely understand if you want to vote against them. I vote against my Missouri Senators all the time. But in terms of like donating, canvassing, volunteering, hell no, you shouldn't spend one iota of your time on that. Cast your vote whoever you want to, vote your conscience. But if you focusing on that instead of stuff like force to vote, instead of pushing for defund the police, instead of putting maximum pressure on Joe Biden, you missing the point, and you missing what we should be doing as a progressive movement in terms of challenging power. Because if you think that with this small majority, even if Democrats won both of those races, let's say they win both of those races, do you guys understand how much power that gives Joe Manchin, Bob Menendez, Amy Klobuchar, the Blue Dog Dems? You know what I mean? So that means every time you guys need a vote, and every time you guys need to get something passed, you'd have had a Blue Dog coalition, the new Democrat coalition, the centrist Democrats. They will come together and they will make demands. They're going to make demands, and they're going to push every single right-wing every single bill, every single proposed piece of legislation. They're definitely going to push it right. They're definitely going to attack every single somewhat good item, and that's going to be the votes we have to fight against. So that vote that Joe Manchin and the centrist Democrats have will be insanely powerful. So they're going to block everything anyway. And now look at the $2,000 checks that Joe Manchin and squad joined up together. I mean, not even just Joe Manchin, the whole Democratic Party joined to override this veto, the NDAA veto. And I want you guys to understand, do you guys have any idea how crazy that is? Do you guys have any idea how crazy it is that we are spending so much money on the military? We are proposing these giant relief bills, but we are not taking care of our people. This is deeply failed state shit. Deeply failed state shit. And I don't want to hear anything from any Democrat regarding rhetoric. People will drive me crazy. People I will debate about whether we should support Joe Biden or not. They will say, "Oh, look at his platform. Look at what he says he's gonna support." Okay, why will you believe him on his platform, despite the fact that he's been lying to you for decades? He's been lying to you for decades. Kamala Harris is a serial liar. Like, you realize Kamala Harris supported getting $2,000 checks. She created the legislation to get that done. How you doing, boot to the head? Girly Gamer 86, thank you. I'm gonna get to some of these comments here soon. But Kamala Harris literally introduced legislation to get $2,000 checks. And she voted against her own bill. She backed away from Medicare for all. She is austerity Democrat. Now she's part of the Joe Biden administration. So how can you take anything that they say? How can anyone, like, if you look at the actions that they actually do, how can you take anything they say and actually hold it to a serious standard? And that's why it would drive me crazy. People are like, "Oh, how can you not vote for Joe Biden when he said he's gonna cancel student loan debt?" I'm like, bro, there's literally no way he's doing that. He's not gonna do it. And now there was a story that came out, and everyone was melting down at the time when it came out. Oh, Joe Biden, he said he's gonna walk that back. And then people was shocked by that, and I wasn't shocked by that at all. Thank you for the follow, Res Northfied. If you guys enjoying the content, please keep that up. We're trying to grow. The good news is I'm like so close to 1,000. I'm like, if I can hit 1,000 for a new year, that'd be great. I mean, I think that's a steep hill to climb. I think I'm like 950. But yeah, we got that looking forward to coming in 2021. And Initiative Bump on YouTube said whether we had Democrats in or not, it doesn't matter. They're just as corrupt as Republicans because it won't make a fucking difference. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. No matter what they do, because what is the line of attack that has been coming out ever since the Georgia Senate race? Vote for us, or you get $2,000 checks. If Democrats win the Senate, we will get $2,000 checks. We will control legislation. We can pass all this progressive policy. But there's an issue with that. The Blue Dog Democrats that I was just brought up earlier. And this fight would have been tough. I mean, if Bernie Sanders was the nominee, I think we would have took back the Senate in a great way. If Bernie Sanders was our nominee instead of Joe Biden. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris hurt Democrats down ballot. And that's why we wasn't able to retake the Senate. That's why we lost the House seats. Because we hurt. Because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would hurt Democrats down ballot. If Bernie Sanders was actually the nominee, there's no chance, that if Bernie Sanders was nominated, there's no chance that Democrats would have got wiped out the same way that they did this election. It was embarrassing. But even if Bernie was the nominee, the reason why I agree with this reason why I was hard into supporting Bernie Sanders, the common question I got back when I was canvassing for him, he's like, all right, how will he actually affect these changes? How will he actually affect the changes? Well, because Bernie Sanders, he will call out Joe Manchin. He will call out Amy Klobuchar. He will call out Bob Menendez. He will call out Dianne Feinstein. These people who will block change and reform. He'll call them out. My question is, do you really believe for 1 second that Joe Biden is going to call out Joe Manchin? He'll call out Bob Menendez. Call out all these Senate Democrats who voted for this. And put pressure on them. Because Bernie was really clear. His plan to get Medicare for all passed, that he would literally come to your state and canvass again and go and endorse your opponent. He would make your life hell. That was his game plan. And that's what I would tell people. And I'll tell people what his game plan was. And people will be excited like, damn, that's how you make change. So let's say we barely win the Senate. Let's say the Georgia Senate races go great for Democrats. Now there would be one vote or so that would be the difference. And with Joe Biden not putting any pressure on the Senate Democrats, you really believe that he will fight for things like $2,000 relief checks? Let's be real. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So once again, my whole thing, and people will get mad at me when I go after Ossoff and Warnock, because I'm a relentless activist and I strongly believe in spreading our ideals. So when you have Ossoff going against Medicare for All, going against defund the police, going against shutting down ICE, I can't ignore that. Why should I ignore that? What's the benefit for our movement for me ignoring that? And let's say I lived in Georgia, because people get mad at me for talking about this. People legitimately get mad at me for talking about how horrible that these candidates are. I'm like, why are you mad how I feel about these candidates? I don't even live there. I'm not voting for this race. But the thing is, even if I was in Georgia, and even if I was secretly planning on voting for them, I would still bash them to literally the day of the election. And I will continue bashing them throughout the entire course of their Senate race. Their Senate run. And that was one of the criticisms I have of the progressive movement when Joe Biden became the nominee. Because I'm like, even if you believe Trump was an existential threat, even if you believe that, why wouldn't you keep your support and vote for Joe Biden a secret until like the last week to get as many consent? Like I've seen people all the time on Twitter, a lot of leftists, they're like, yeah, I'm actually gonna support Joe Biden. I really don't want to do it, but I'm gonna support him. I'm like, bro, we're 2 months away from the election. What the fuck are you doing? Why would you give them the satisfaction of knowing that they've successfully tamed you? And once again, that had nothing to do with who you voted for. I don't care who you vote for. I don't believe in vote shaming. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I'm disappointed that more didn't vote for the Green Party, but I'm not gonna individually shame you for going for Biden over Trump. What I'm shaming people for, and what I'm getting very upset about, is people who will, like, oh yeah, I'm support Joe Biden, and they will fight every single progressive. That like progressives like, what, you vote for Joe? And then they spend all their time doing that instead of putting pressure on Joe Biden. I'm like, keep that shit a secret. I don't want them to know that we're gonna back them. Cause guess what? You know why Joe Biden ran the right-wing campaign they did, and the reason why he's shutting down progressives now? Because they never felt any threat. They knew that the progressive movement would fold once again. They knew it. So if they know the progressive movement is gonna fold, why would he offer you any concessions? Meanwhile, we could have been pretending to not, even if you was a Biden voter, you could pretend not to support Joe Biden, and then vote for him in the last second. And then I'll still keep quiet. I won't say shit about it. I would just vote my conscience. And this is saying this. I voted Green Party, but if I was voting for Joe Biden, I would vote my conscience. I would vote for Biden. I would not say a goddamn word. I'm not giving you guys the satisfaction knowing that I'm voting for your neoliberal ass. I didn't, but I wouldn't. That's how I feel about this one. And this is the point I want to make. And I'm gonna tweet this. I'm gonna tweet this one out, and then we finish the segment. Sorry, I'm missing a lot of the questions and comments in here. You guys are coming in, but don't worry. I'm gonna get right to those. I'm gonna tweet my screen. You guys know I've been doing a better job of advertising, so I'm gonna tweet this out. I'm talking about Mitch McConnell here, discussing how Mitch McConnell is a blessing to Democrats. I think I should give some people in. I don't know who's talking. Can y'all mute the mic just because I hear the typing. It's all good though. Just make sure y'all mute. I'm gonna bring you guys right in once I finish this part here. So the tweet I made today, and like I said, I'm thinking about doing this segment. I want to give you guys thoughts on this segment that I'm thinking about putting together. I want to look at some of the liberal responses to my tweet and debunk them in live time. Do you guys think that would be fun? I think it would be fun. Because when I get these comments from the liberals, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? I'm like, I can easily debunk this, but sometimes I don't have enough time. But anyway, my point I was making on Mitch McConnell and what upset a lot of people. I can't. Hey Sienna, can you mute? I got it. Cause I hear him typing. It's cool. I got it. Okay, I got it. So I was telling people why I always believed Mitch McConnell was a great ally for the Democratic Party. Mitch McConnell is a blessing to Democrats. Mitch McConnell gives them the shield to hide behind. It's why they picked Amy McGrath to lose against him while doing everything they can to stop the real threat that was Charles Booker. Charles Booker had a ton of populist momentum on his side, had a lot of people who were disenfranchised from the system, a lot of the inner blacks and other minority communities were supportive of Charles Booker. That's the formula you need to defeat Mitch McConnell. The grassroots, heavily black voting base in Louisiana that Charles Booker had, and then you had the white liberal class who wanted to get Mitch McConnell get rid of him at all costs. So that's the formula you need to beat him. They knew that, so they wanted to do anything they can to stop Booker, because Chuck Schumer recruited Amy McGrath as a way to keep Mitch McConnell in power. They keep picking these losers to go against them. Like, she ran as a Trump Democrat. This is why they lose. Like, how are you going to run as a Trump Democrat? So pretty much what you're doing, you're acknowledging that you're going to be just like the Republican, but you're pro-life. But you go against their judge pick. So why would a Republican support you? And that's it. That's why that whole ideology doesn't make no sense. That's why they got Amy McGrath, because she ran a Trump Democrat designed to help Mitch McConnell win. No one can convince me otherwise. And if Mitch McConnell was gone, let's say if Amy McGrath pulled that Hail Mary off and Charles Booker won, this is why I don't fall into the Mitch McConnell fear mongering. People be like, oh, why don't you go after Mitch McConnell? Why do you absolutely hate Mitch McConnell? Mitch McConnell is a cog in the machine. He got massive support among the Republican power base. If Mitch McConnell wasn't there, it would be another Republican that would be there. Another Republican be doing the same thing that Mitch McConnell was doing. And if Democrats control the Senate, does anyone really believe that Joe Manchin, Amy Klobuchar, Bob Menendez, do you really believe Dianne Feinstein? There's countless others that I'm not thinking about naming right now. Countless others. Do you guys really think that they're going to join us as a coalition? You really think that they're going to allow progressive policy to hit the Senate floor? They will have a Democrat like Joe Manchin, for example, who will play the same role that Mitch McConnell did. No doubt in my mind. And as I mentioned, the Senate margin is going to be small. So are you guys seriously thinking that would be a great thing to give these ghouls so much power? They will be the deciding vote under a Joe Biden presidency. A guy who already want to implement austerity. A guy who I played this clip before. He bragged about making the Bush tax cuts permanent with Mitch McConnell. There were stories about how Barack Obama sent him to negotiate with Mitch McConnell during the 2008 financial crisis. And he was just giving them everything up, even to the point where you had Democrats that was like, what the hell are you doing? You had centrist Democrats like, what are you doing? I covered that article on here before as well. So it would have been a hard fight even if Bernie won. But now you got Biden in there, and you guys really think this Georgia Senate race is going to change the country. It's just a puppet show. If we have a progressive president-elect, then yeah, I'll be for it, because now we will have a mechanism to pressure the senators. But with Joe Biden in charge, with no mechanism of putting any pressure on them, we in the same position. Same position. So, vote your conscience at the end of the day. But if you think the Georgia Senate race is going to change anything, you're out of your goddamn mind. You're out of your goddamn mind. Let me get to some of these comments. What do you guys think? I still have Carlos and Sienna on call. What do you guys think of my assessment? What do you guys think about the NDA vote? And overall your thought on the Georgia Senate races. What are your guys' takes on that?
The Georgia Senate race is an absolute shit show. I personally think that we got to kill these Ossoff. We got to kill these Ossoff Democrats like in their fucking graves immediately. We can't allow these like Pete Buttigieg types to.
Can y'all hear him? I don't know. If Wavy guy was talking about that. He said no sound. I just saw no sound. Oh wait, hold on. Let me make sure they can hear you.
You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I just want to make sure. I don't want you gonna. I'm gonna unmute Sienna here as well. It's just because it only muted you just because you was typing. But now we.
Yeah, I was mostly talking with chat.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cool.
I know. Yeah, I know. I wasn't mad. I heard it. I didn't want anyone to hear that in the background. So can y'all hear it? Yeah, they said they can hear you. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, bro. I don't know.
Okay, So what I'll just repeat what I was saying, which is I think that we got to kill these John Ossoff, like Pete Buttigieg Dems in their graves, like in the crib. We got to strangle these babies in the crib immediately. We cannot allow for these type of Democrats to flourish any more than they already have. It's pretty stark. Like it's pretty stark reminding, right, that these guys are struggling so hard to beat Loeffler and Purdue.
Yes, it should be easy. This should be easy.
Yeah,
I don't care what stage.
Layup. Yeah, this should be LeBron James against a high school team. It's pathetic that they can't seem to do anything against them. I gotta say though, I've kind of detached myself from this. I'm originally from South Carolina. I was actually born in Georgia. So I don't think that either one of them are going to win. I think that the Republicans are going to run roughshod across Georgia. But you know, even like what you're saying, even if we do get Ossoff and the other guy that I actually seem to kind of like a little bit, the guy that's running against Kelly. I think even if you do get those people in, like they're not gonna, like you said, change the war machine. There's not gonna be.
I'm back. There we go.
basically like an entire show. They're pretty much just like, in 2018 they said we got to beat Trump, and in 2020 they said we got to beat Trump. This is the last time that they get to kind of cling on, I think, to that narrative, which is we're doing this to beat Donald Trump. But there's going to be not a lot different, I think, from how those folks will legislate.
Exactly, Sienna. What's your thoughts?
I from what I saw on the NAA vote, NDAA vote, I saw Kamala voted with McConnell,
Yep.
and I'm just like, there's no excuse for it. Like, what? How are libs gonna excuse this? Their own vice president elect
Oh, they find a
voted
way.
with
Oh, trust
McConnell to
me.
screw them.
Oh, trust me,
Like,
they'll find a way. I always see K Hive doing mental gymnastics. 'Cause before the vote, it's funny because we were going to Kamala. They were trying to give Kamala credit for this because they were like, "Oh, Kamala introduced legislation to get 2K checks." They were like, "Oh, Bernie Sanders just following her footstep." They've been dead quiet ever since she voted for the NDA. And now this is what made Kamala Harris so scary. She is terrifying because she voted against a 10% military budget decrease that Bernie Sanders put on the floor. Now she vote for this. I told you that vote that she did to shut down Bernie Sanders' proposal, the only decrease in military by 10%. That was her audition for VP. If she voted for that, there would have been zero chance. There would have been zero chance that she would have been chosen. So she passed her audition with flying colors. Now she doing what she's doing now. Now this is a reflection of how Biden's administration is going to be run. This is what I was saying from day one after she was picked as the vice president. That you're going to see a Biden administration that is unhinged when it comes to military funding, when it comes to expanding U.S. imperialism, when it comes to propping up the U.S. police state. This is what Joe Biden's did. What Joe Biden and Kamala Harris going to do. I see RJ join the crew. How you doing, RJ?
So earlier you actually mentioned that about who was it? Elizabeth Warren voting against the NDAA. And I'm just curious, do you think that that's because she actually gives a shit? We know she voted for
There's no way.
all of these bloated military budgets for the past 3 or 4 years. Do you think it's because she actually gives a shit, or do you think she's just oh,
she
fuck
gotta
you,
do.
if you're not gonna make me labor, or not labor secretary, commerce secretary or something, then you know what I mean? She wanted to be treasury
It's out
secretary.
of spite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. It will take way more than just this one vote to Elizabeth Warren to ever redeem herself.
I can actually add on to what you're saying. So, Elizabeth Warren, she her and Ayanna Pressley are doing this triangulation between progressives and the establishment. So if you've noticed, Ayanna Pressley, she's a part of the squad, but she's also very friendly to establishment leadership, which is why she's the only squad member to not get primary. So what Elizabeth Warren is trying to do is she's trying to stay progressive enough where she's not pissing off leftists and progressives, but conservative enough where she's not pissing off the establishment to avoid a primary challenge either way from whichever wing wants to come at her. So that's kind of the strategy she's doing, as well as the Warren Democrats. Notice Katie Porter, she had some very bad votes, but she's also had some pretty good votes. So it's that type of strategy that the Warren Democrats faction in the Democratic Party is going to do.
I see my friend Forgiving She in the chat here. My friend Kay is in the chat. Yeah, so we all the homies are here. Rabbit Fufu's here on YouTube. So I just hope everything keep running smooth. Just let me know how the chat is running in the chat here, guys. Because I know usually when I get multiple people on here, it start to slow down a little bit. So just let me know that if everything is running properly. We even got A1 on camera, so I'm glad. Let's go. Yeah. So this is a great setup we have here now. Let me go back to the comment. I missed so many comments. I apologize, guys. I think I finished the first story. Let's go away, wrap it up. The next story I'm gonna run will be talking about the Fox News article, because I cover the crimes against humanity, the human rights violation of the U.S. government, and the only way we can really fight that is by defunding the police, defunding the Pentagon, getting rid of ICE, getting rid of DHS, getting rid of the CIA, and that's that's the next step in terms of the post Bernie Sanders left, because I talk about all the reason why I have a lot of respect for Bernie, why I like Bernie, and why I was supportive of Bernie. But there was a lot of issues I had with Bernie at the end of the day. So what we should do as a left wing movement, we should take all the positive of Bernie Sanders, all the positive of any left wing figure that you like, anyone you like that, even ones I may not like. Take the positives and let that be the future of left wing movement. The future of left wing movement is Cori Bush and Nina Turner. Once again, Bernie Sanders isn't vocally supportive of defund the police, which is a big that hurts. That really hurt his quality of leadership in progressive movement. So we gotta look at what Bernie does. I mean, I cheer Bernie when he does great things, like him fighting for the $2,000 checks now. But there was a lot of blind spots there. When we say Bernie Sanders was the compromise candidate, I mean, I meant it because I know there was really important things that he represented. I liked his strategy and when it came to affecting change. But when it comes to challenging, once again, the human rights violation, I think Bernie could have did better on it. But he was great. I mean, he was much better than anyone else because he was one of. Was there anyone else? I remember at the time, I think he was the only one who was supportive of abolishing ICE, which was a giant thing to me. Him and Tulsi Gabbard. Go ahead.
Oh, he also really did kind of play like a leadership role with Mike Lee, a Republican who I fucking absolutely hate, but like give credit where credit is due, with trying to end the genocide going on in Yemen. You know what I mean? Like that's a good spot with Bernie Sanders. But yeah, like you said, he hasn't really said much about this whole defund the police situation.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I can least respect where Bernie comes from because Bernie Sanders' criminal justice plan is still great. I mean, it's still good, ending qualified immunity and all that stuff. Like, it went way further. Him and Tulsi, the only people who actually had criminal justice plans that I liked. So at the end, I would never say Bernie Sanders is bad on criminal justice because his thought, the big thing that's a red flag for me when you say you want police to get paid more, and I'm like, police already get paid a shit ton of money. We shouldn't be paying them more money. But I at least can understand where he come from on that because Bernie Sanders' politics is all about giving people money. Like that's literally what his thing is. So I'm like, all right, that's your brand. I at least understand that. But he was still overall pretty good on criminal justice. But my point I was getting to is we need to hit the next level of the progressive movement. Bernie, in the progressive movement, the progressive electoral movement as we know it right now is really, really young. Only 5 years old. And now I'm talking about the progressive electoral movement as we know it. There have always been a lot of great progressive movements and causes like Occupy Wall Street, Standing Rock, and all that stuff. But the electoral progressive movement as we know it is only 5 years old. So if we are only 5 years old as a movement, we can only continue to get better. So what I want to see out of a post-Bernie Sanders left is not only do we embrace Medicare for all, fight for that, and fight for a living wage, we literally challenge ICE. We want to defund the Pentagon. We want to defund the police. We are vocal about the prosecution of Julian Assange and the First Amendment. We need to be staunch supporters of the Fourth Amendment. Well, Bernie Sanders was really good on the Fourth Amendment as well. It's really hurting me that he's not speaking about Julian Assange. But this is the kind of stuff that we need out of the post left wing of the party.
Have you heard recently too, like what I think AOC was on Jeremy Scahill's podcast Intercepted, and she spoke about Julian Assange, and she says something along the lines of like, I think Snowden should be considered, but like we should look like more deeply into Julian Assange, which is like, to be a progressive harbinger, it's a little disheartening to hear coming from her.
Yeah, I really hope we can push her on that issue, cause that's really horrible. That's a horrible stance to take. At the end of the day, I don't know that come out. Like the thing is, it's hard to claim ignorance of AOC because we know how smart she is.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's really hard to claim ignorance on her part, but that's a giant red flag. And if you're one of the AOC stands who get upset at me for criticizing her, you got to acknowledge that that's a giant red flag on her behalf.
I really, like, with this whole force the vote thing, I really didn't have an opinion one way or the other of it. But one of the things, though, that really stood out to me was something that Jimmy Dore said, which was basically, like, along the lines of something like, if you have heroes, you're wrong, and if your heroes are politicians, you're wrong twice. you know. And that's kind of like how I feel it when it comes to AOC, is that, like, you know, now that she is a structure of power, she should be questioned. She should be,
Exactly.
you know, like that's what you do to structures of power. I don't understand why it's people get so upset when you say she did something wrong, like vote for the CARES Act.
I think, just to add to your point, I think the reason why some people are afraid to question her is because look at the first guy we fell in love with, Bernie Sanders, during the primary. When we questioned a lot of his bad maneuvering and political strategy, we bit our tongue. We said, well, he's our only guy. We're not going to criticize him because then the other side can bash him. So some
Hmm.
people on the left still feel that same way and using that same tactic with AOC. It's kind of
Yeah,
what I feel.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
definitely, definitely.
yeah, there's a. I used to mock the liberal class. I'll mock liberals for having blind obsession with politicians and holding them above criticism. And this is what I want the left to understand. I don't want ALC to have the A hive, like, cause I seeing that. I'm seeing the progressive K hive
Yeah.
with her, where you will have legitimately good criticism, like legit criticism of ALC, and like the Julian Assange thing. And people act like you're being out of line for even bringing that up. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? She's a politician. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, she's a politician. So why are you guys being why you guys are throwing yourself and doing anything you can to apologize for her? That doesn't make any sense to me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it kind of starts too. Like left media has done. Like I feel like leftists, like we feel like so beaten down and bad because of how MSNBC and CNN does coverage of our progressive ideas and strategies. Yeah, you see a lot of people on the left want to do the exact same thing, like creating leftist media, like TYT, like all these online YouTube media. And what you're seeing from those media figures is they're not holding leftists accountable that are in elected office. They're actually doing fealty to them, like the Democratic Party does with CNN and MSNBC. So when you make a critique about a progressive, not are you not it's not that you're trying to critique them to make them stronger. You're just trying to tear them down and weaken the power of the progressive movement as a whole. And I think that's the struggle that we're going to get, because if you have more young people come in and with this idea that we can't criticize those who are even aligned closer to us to push for progressive change, then you're not even going to hold people who think like you accountable to make sure that the movement continues.
That's a powerful point. Let me get to some of the chats here. Um, I think the video lagging just a little bit.
Yeah, the stream is lagging, but the sound is
Yeah,
good.
yeah, the sound is
Like we
good.
still got good
That's
sound.
the problem. Like I'll have to get the Zoom Gold membership because I've been having a lot of problems with Discord for the same reason. And my friend Pat the Burner warned me about this because he's saying that there's a lot of issue with Discord. So, but we about 40 minutes and we can do another 20 minutes and I gotta fix the stream quality. Maybe mostly because whenever I host people on cam, that's when it's really start to slow down a lot. I barely have anything open too. So let's see. Yeah, mostly it's the video that lagging really bad right now.
Do you want us to turn the camera on?
When did that work? So let me think. Cause the thing is, I had the reason I'm thinking the camera because I had a group of people on here before, but they didn't have cameras on. So let's see what that does. Let's see what that does to the stream here.
Hopefully, the stream gets better if we all have our cameras off.
Yeah, cause I do want to get to this other defund story. I'm just looking at OBS and they say it's lagging like hell. I can tell by the monitoring on there.
Oh my god, yeah, it looks like a PowerPoint on the stream right now.
Yeah. That's see now. All right, now the stream's getting. I literally think of the video. I think that already showing the stream is improving.
Yeah, I think it's just Discord when you stream with us
So
on our camera.
that's what I want to do. Once again, I didn't want to get a membership. I'll push some pennies, but I'm gonna have to get a Zoom membership for these kind of calls because Zoom I don't have any issues, but whenever I have a lot of people on call on Discord, that's when it started to really lag. So I appreciate you guys showing your faces, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Let me we can have it like this. So I think this is a pretty good setup. Yeah, I think the stream quality is improving, guys. I'm looking at my setup here. Let me see how the stream's going. According to OBS, it should be good now. After we fix this, I can move on to my next story if it's fixing. They say you need to plug your internet directly into your computer. I am doing that. It's just I got really ghetto internet, which I am working on. Hopefully, like I even convinced my brother to move because our area is so terrible. We don't even have a better option. We don't have Google Fiber over here. It's all over Kansas City. So I'm like, I gotta do what I do until then. Like, I got plugged in, and usually I have no issues. But usually when I have like a lot of people on video, it hurts. But according to OBS, it should be getting better. Just let me know. Appreciate the feedback, Kate. Glad to see you on here as well.
Yep, stream is definitely doing better.
Yeah. I think the thing is, I really do think it's the video. Then that's crazy. I think this is a pretty good set to have right here, though. Oh, come on. This is a pretty good set to have right here. They can see y'all faces, all your profile pictures or whatever. You say you need a Zoom membership. If you don't have a Zoom membership, it cuts you off after like what, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. And you guys know I usually do longer streams, so if I don't have a Zoom membership, I can only do like an episode for like 40 minutes or so.
Oh God, why is Jimmy trending on Twitter again? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man, like
The man stays in the news.
he was like, the thing is, like, Jimmy. This is the thing. I don't like going up to Jimmy. I think it's a distraction. But he needs to chill attacking people who agree with him, because he's giving them ammo. He, like, on the video call, he's literally going after people that agrees with him. Like, he was going after Katie Halper, and they were like, bro, chill. We agree. Like, he agrees. So I think the reason he's trending right now is because I saw someone post clips of him going off on the stream call, and he like going off on Katie Halper, and then like I'm like, bro, why are you going off on allies for, bro? So he's like hurting himself and hurting the movement when he does that. He need to chill. I get, like, have that righteous anger when you go after neoliberals. Have that righteous anger when you go after TYT, Ben Dixon, and all that kind of stuff. But why are you yelling at Katie Halper for? Like, what?
Yeah.
I think, okay,
Calm down.
he was yelling at like this other guy, Ben Spielberg,
Yeah.
too, who actually agreed with him.
Yeah, I'm like,
And,
what are
like-
you doing? I'm like, literally, what are you doing?
but
Predictable life that Google Meet doesn't have the time limit. Thank you for leaving that comment. I did not know that. I might have to look into that.
Yeah, Force to Vote is trending because of last night.
I mean, let's talk about that. What's your guys' thought? I mean, I watched it, and I am glad I was here on my own while watching it, because it was a tearjerker, especially the first. Do you guys see the Savage? Do you guys all watch it? Do you guys see the Savage Joy interview? That was really hard to get through. It was really hard to get through. Very depressing stuff. I don't know how anyone can watch that and not immediately become radicalized. And I talk about the split on the left before, the split of, there's a group of people on the left who has pretty good intentions, but they don't have the sense of urgency that we do necessarily. Where we want to push Force to Vote, even though Force to Vote may not give it Medicare for all directly, but there are people that need health care right now. So the whole thing is like, if not now, then when? Meanwhile, the people who are comfortable, people on TYT, the people who make a lot of money, the people who love the quorum, the people who just going after Jimmy for tone policing, like these people who care more about that decorum, they got healthcare, they comfortable, they like and they enjoy the squad and AOC, because just like liberals, they played it as a team sport as well. So the idea of having a AOC in office, the fact that we would never go against them, they don't want a negative headline to go against AOC, because once again, it's kind of a game to them. Meanwhile, the group I'm referring to, the people like me who don't have health care, I don't give a fuck. Like, bro, if you're not fighting for Medicare for all the way you say you was going to do, I'm going to drag you. Right? What's your guys' thoughts on Force Vote, and do you guys check that out yesterday?
I hopped into the town hall stream when Cornel West was talking.
Yep.
That was when I hopped into the stream. I like, as soon as I saw Cornel West, I'm like, okay, I'm staying on this stream just to hear him talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't necessarily think that much is gonna come from this. One of my biggest questions about the whole Force the Vote thing is that, like, we know we don't have the votes for it, right? So like that's fine. And I understand like the idea of wanting to put people like on the record, you know. But what I don't get is like, if you know you don't have the votes, then can't they just lie and be like, yeah, I totally
That's a good
support
thing
it.
though. That's a good thing
But
though.
the thing is, if you force the vote and they say yes, like if Democrats who don't support it vote yes just to look good, if they then walk back on it, people can pull that out on them and be like, you when we forced the vote, you said yes, but now you're walking it back. Like,
Yeah, and Kamala Harris has already done that.
It's gonna expose your bullshit, you know?
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
Kamala
think-
Harris has already done that, so who cares? You know
No,
what I
but
mean?
what-
Like, I just don't think these people give a shit.
Yeah, but the strategy really is how you get rid of the kings and queens. You have to get rid of the henchmen first. And so what this strategy is good at doing is it takes the middle of the line Democrats, forces them into a corner. That way they say they're for it, and if they're not, and if they flip, and then it makes it easier to go after them. So like, let's just say a certain progressive or leftist lives in a certain district, it's easier to primary them, the mainline Democrat who depends on party leadership to get reelected, than going after a Kamala or a Chuck Schumer or a Nancy Pelosi. It's just it's a way to not only increase the numbers game, but liquidize the power of the party leadership.
No, I definitely understand that. My only concern is that, like, so we just basically see, like, a bunch of Democrats coming to bat, even AOC, right, for, like, Nancy Pelosi, the whole, like, ooh, what if, you know, we get somebody worse than them? And, like, that argument is going to stay here with us in the American political discourse for eternity. Like, that's just never going to go away.
It's
So-
always gonna be a lesser evil.
Exactly, exactly. And so I don't necessarily
never
think
leaving.
that getting rid of, you know, like trying to do a force the vote thing. I mean, I like the idea of it. I don't have any qualms. I think it should happen as opposed to not happening, you know. But I think that people have a little bit more faith in this and what they might get out of that, you know.
Yeah, my thing is the reason why I like forced vote, because I feel like it's a no lose situation. Because you look at historically and you look at how the Tea Party grew to prominence. Like the idea that if we have this vote and it gets shot down, that's a bad thing for us. It doesn't make sense, and it never made sense historically, because we literally had sit-ins in the civil rights movement. We literally had constant. Another thing they said it's so performative, it's not gonna do anything. Like, okay, so do you think the sit-ins in the civil rights movement was performative? Because that technically didn't do anything, right? But it actually did spread the awareness and actually increase the validity of the civil rights movement. And I think having the force to vote, once again, I get what you're saying, because you don't see anything tangible happening right now, but it's a no lose strategy. Because like you said, what if they lie and say, oh yeah, I'll support Medicare for all? Okay, that still helps Medicare for all, because you know what that says? That says that if you do not support Medicare for all, that's a bad political maneuver. And then the people who vote no, they lose. The people who vote yes, they win. So now you literally prove that your claim, the corporate media, what they say all the time is that if you run on Medicare for all, you're going to lose. You're going to lose if you run on Medicare for all. Okay, if we're going to lose if you run on Medicare for all, why are they pretending to support it then? It's literally the thing you have to do to win. And then you're going to have the people who are so hard against Medicare for all that they're not even going to pretend to lie about it. They're going to vote straight no. And what happened this year? All the candidates, I think all but one, if I remember right, that supported Medicare for all won. The races.
No, all of them won.
All of them won. I think it's Green New Deal. I think Green New Deal only had one person that lost. But if everyone who supported Medicare for all, they all won. So then now what can we say? I've been saying this from the very beginning. I mean, literally the second the election ended, I'm like, okay, centrist Democrats caused Democrats down ballot. Cause why? Because everyone who supported Medicare for all won. All the ones who didn't lost. So now, when we have 2022 comes, everyone who voted no, they lose. And now coming to 2024, we be like, okay, so literally the last two elections, everyone who didn't support Medicare for all lose. Now you have a lot of corporatists and careerists, the people who will be entering politics, the people who want to maintain their power, that makes them much more likely to flip. So once again, it's not immediate. So I get what you're saying. It's not like immediate change, but these are the kind of stuff you need to do in the political environment to enable change. So you're more agnostic about the idea, which is I don't got any issue with that. My thing is people who are like hardcore against it. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How can you be hardcore against it?
Yeah, so I don't think you should be against it, but like take this for consideration, right? Because a lot of people, for some reason, kind of think that this is like a 50-50 argument, right? But it's really a lot more one-sided. And so something really important that people aren't taking into consideration is like, for the rest of our foreseeable lives, probably, or at least until you and I are like in our 60s or 70s, there's going to be a 6-3 majority Supreme Court, Republican Supreme Court decision. So just like they did with Obamacare, where every single time something happened with Obamacare, either through a state or nationally, it got taken to the Supreme Court. Things just got taken to court over and over and over again, until a lot of things from the Affordable Care Act were kind of withered away. Like, the Supreme Court can just say Medicare for all is unconstitutional. Any progressive policy that we want at this point, the Supreme Court can shoot down, and that it doesn't matter what people, movement, and legislatures say about that. So I know it sounds terrible to be like a doom and gloomer, a doom and gloom.
That's
leftist.
kind of how I am. That's kind of how I am.
Actually, I can kind of push back on that a little bit. I do agree, but public pressure does have an effect, especially if you have a popular leader who is backed by a grassroots movement. If you look at 1936, when Franklin Roosevelt was trying to pass a lot of his New Deal legislation, he threatened to court pack. And so that type of pressure actually forced the Supreme Court to say, hey, let's throw a bone to this guy every now and then, just to get him off our back so we can look good, and so that we don't have this whole backlash coming against us. And just for the force to vote part, this is the problem that the progressives are making. The force the vote part is just a spark to the fire. Okay, there's two parts that are missing. You have the grassroots part, and you also have the part where, okay, the squad, you want to have all these other minor changes like getting rid of PAYGO. Just say, hey, look, we're going to use the force to vote momentum and tack on, hey, you got to get rid of PAYGO. We got to get a new Speaker of the House. You can add to that stuff. The problem with the squad is that they're using those things they want as a stopgate to prevent force the vote from getting any traction. I think that's what's kind of ticking some people off, because we can do all of it at the same time.
Well, yeah, I would. My only pushback against that, and I love the idea of court packing, but if you think that Democrats are going to attempt to court pack, I have a bridge to sell you. It's just not.
Oh no, I'm not believing in that. I'm just giving you a historical reference of
and also whenever FDR was getting past a whole lot of New Deal legislation, there was not a 6-3 conservative majority either. That's why
I said it's gonna get. The only way we go ahead.
I was saying, that is a barrier that FDR and that no other administrations ever had to deal with is a 6-3 majority court where Donald Trump selected 3 fucking people that are going to be there until we die.
And this is where we really need progressive leaders to step up, and this is where we really need them to have balls. Because what do we do in a situation where the Supreme Court rules Medicare for all unconstitutional? What we do?
In a situation like that, you get in the street.
Exactly. I told you we on the same page with this, and this is why I go after progressive leaders. Because why haven't they been calling for a general strike? I mean, Ilhan Omar made that tweet. Me and my friend Beth and a few other organizers, we've been calling for a general strike since the summer, and people were just now trending it when because we wasn't getting the $2,000 checks. But I literally remember when I was pushing for a general strike, I had some leftists that was like, oh, you know how hard that is to organize? Like, you guys are being way too extreme. Like, literally, left and progressives that was questioning why we were calling for a general strike. And my thing is, if your argument that we shouldn't do it because it's hard, you realize that you're the moderator that MLK was talking about, because the civil rights movement was hard. Like, in this time right now, if you had a Supreme Court that, because look at imagine the scenario, because in order for this to happen, it would have to pass the House, it had to pass the Senate, then you had the president that signed the law. And then the Supreme... So, it got passed the impossible to pass Senate. So, in order for that to happen, the public support for Medicare for all had to be so high. It had to be sky high. Because it's already, what? Like 72%? That was the exit polling in the general election show for Medicare for all. 72% of the American people support it. Even that not enough. So, by the time we actually get passed, the number will be what? I mean, this is just hypothetical. This is just us guessing. Like, what, 85%, 90% of the country will have to support it for it to actually get through the House and the Senate and then the presidency. And then, so the Supreme Court then vetoes that. There will be hell to pay. And if there's not progressive leaders that not literally actively calling for it, not willing to shut government down, willing to do anything they can, that's the only way we get passed. That's the only way we get done. And it will be something unlike we ever seen historically. So you both are right in that sense, because once again, you said the Supreme Court wasn't stacked in the way against FDR, so we had to do shit that FDR didn't have to do. which means shut this shit down. And I don't think the progressive leaders have. I don't think they have the guts for
Yeah.
that. I don't think they do.
Well,
And
my biggest concern though is that when we're having this conversation at a time where 300,000 Americans have suffocated in their own lung fluid, right?
Yeah.
California has 2 million cases of COVID-19. There's a global pandemic going on. Like, if Medicare for all wasn't passed like 5 months ago, it's never going to get passed. Like, and that's not a thing that I like saying. I don't
hear you,
like
bro.
having to go to the shitty VA, and get looked at by terrible army doctors in my late 20s. It's not a thing I enjoy. But like, if we can't get it done now, like, who the fuck's gonna care enough? You talk about Medicare for all, like having the support to get people out into the streets. That's now.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and I kind of want to add to what you're saying too. I think the performative acts, sure, they may not initially help get your policy belief enacted in terms of policy, but the performative acts do have major power in how you pull the heartstrings of Americans. And so if
Very true.
just look at impeachment, for example, the Democrats use CNN, MSNBC, all the major news networks to try to throw everything at the wall to try to get Trump impeached, and he nearly got him removed from office. If it wasn't for the Republicans, and still to this day they use that same performative act to dangle it over Trump's head to get whatever they want from him anyway. And so I'm saying is, why can't we as leftists use some of our performative acts to try to put a chokehold on the party leadership to get them to not only change, but to take a bone from them? Because we keep believing that if we play nice, or even just play strategically smart with the Democrats, that they'll give us a bone. We have to take it from them.
Well, I think there's two sides of the leftist that you're talking about, right? So there's the folks like yourself that are saying like we should do these performative acts of theater, right? Because they can spark, and I see the appeal to that, and I understand why you would want it. My biggest argument to that though is that you are still trying to change like an institution, right? And these institutions you're trying to change to be democratic, and they just simply are not designed to be democratic. So I think any movement's going to have to be from the outside, which is kind of like what we're saying here with like a general strike. That's going to move things, but I don't necessarily think that getting all of your best friends into the Democratic Party to take over isn't going to eventually lead to probably the exact same problems. I think the institutions are kind of the concerning part. They're not democratic. They were never intended to be democratic.
And I'm gonna add to what you're saying, because you actually made a very good point, and I respect it. And so the one part of my message that's missing is that when I've studied history, you've had outside movements, but you had a few brave politicians willing to be the guinea pigs to shovel us inside the political game. The problem today is we don't have one single strong, brave politician, whether it's in the House or the Senate, to really stand on their own feet and basically take on this montage of whether it's forced to vote, Medicare for all, many of our strong progressive agenda. That's actually what makes it harder for grassroots movements. And so if you look at the civil rights movement, if you look at what happened in the 1930s, the two anti-war movements in the 50s and the 70s, you've had at least a few politicians on the inside willing to step out on a branch and disobey party leadership to actually get some of our policies enacted. So what you said was brilliant. I agree. And I think the main pinhole in my argument is that we don't have those inside politicians willing to stick out anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can let's shift gears here. Let's do this defund the police story. I'm gonna tweet this out. Debunking defund the police propaganda once again. Because that's one of the main features of my channel. Hopefully you guys enjoying this conversation. If you are, please leave a like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. Help me out, help me grow. But one thing I'm obsessed on, and what I believe is super important, and this is something that is consistent throughout the course of working class movements and movements for liberation, is that when you look at movements for liberation, there's always a giant amount of pushback to go against them in terms of the centrists, the moderates, and this is the kind of people that MLK, Malcolm X, W.B. Du Bois, all these people famously wrote about, like the moderates that get in the way of social movements. And civil rights movement, what a lot of people who don't like defund the police, and what they always miss out when they just look at the initial polling, was the civil rights movement, the bus sit-ins, all that stuff was not popular when it first started. Now everyone act like it was a great idea. Now everyone act like they're supportive of it, and I guarantee you. And I covered a story on my other stream how the defund the police movement is picking up steam. How we already starting to defund police departments across, like in Oakland and Minneapolis, just for a small example. And then you're gonna have a lot of people.
Speaking of Minneapolis, there was a story that came out yesterday, wasn't there, that the Minneapolis police killed another black person at a traffic stop or something like that? And it's
I haven't seen that yet. I need to look in that story.
Yeah,
and it's like cops, like libs or like liberals and conservatives say, "Oh, cops stop crimes." No, they commit crimes.
Exactly.
They themselves commit crimes.
Yeah, and that's gonna get into the basis of what the story I'm covering right now, because the idea that they stop crime is laughable. I mean, there was literally a tip at the Nashville bomber. That's the big story going on right now. They like his significant other literally called the cops and said that he's a threat, that he's a terrorist threat. They're like, "Oh, no, we ain't doing anything." So in what universe do they prevent crime? And then the Minneapolis Police Department is a direct rebuke to the people who argue against defund the police. Because the people who argue against defund the police, what do they say? Oh, you guys are going too extreme. We should need to go to police reform. We need to do police reform instead of defund. That makes more sense. That will actually change things. Ignoring the fact that Minneapolis, the police department, already reformed 5 years ago. They already did massive reform. Everything that liberals asking them to do, they already did. But did that stop George Floyd from dying? Did that stop the guy you just told me about? Did that stop him from getting killed? Police reforms don't work. They don't work. How can you reform a system that is institutionally racist? I mean, the FBI, not me, not independent media, not anyone who's on the Defund the Police platform. The FBI looked into the police in 2004 and said it was infiltrated by white supremacists. Literally a racist institution. Literally a group of people that are occupying minority neighborhoods. That's what the police is. And that's why covering foreign policy is important, because foreign policy always come back home. What you're seeing, the U.S. military, what that we've been doing for decades, is now here, is now home. That's why it's important to go against it. Go ahead.
Can I actually make a point? So I used to be in the military from 2010 to 2015. I was in the army.
So we got vet representation here. That's awesome.
And I went to Afghanistan, and one of the points that I've always that kind of stuck out to me growing up in the southeast, right, where large black populations and police harassing black folks, is that police or soldiers like in Afghanistan, right? So take for example, like if a Taliban member, right, is say running away from like a U.S. infantryman, right, and the U.S. infantryman shoots that person in the back, that's murder, right?
Right.
Which means that police actually have less rules of engagement in America than soldiers do while deployed.
Great point.
Which is terrible. But a second point that I want to bring up too is somebody, and I can say this, right, because I was there in the military, but there's a certain type of person, and this isn't 100% blanket statement, but a certain type of person is drawn to those jobs, 100%. Right? And you definitely, like you hear, good cops quit, right? So there are good cops right now.
They quit or get demoted. They quit
or they're thinking about quitting right now, right? Like some maybe they're waiting to pay the bill on the first, so they can bounce. But yeah, that's just it's a terrible cyclical cycle, and like what you said is a great point. What black people are experiencing is the same thing that like what we've been putting people in Iraq and Afghanistan through for the past 20 years.
Yep.
And now white America is finally waking up to it, and I would really wish more people would understand that bridge that you just made, right? That like you see the things that are going on to George Floyd, well, that's going on in Afghanistan and Iraq with all of your tax dollars.
Let me hold that thought, 'cause I'm actually gonna go ahead, Sienna.
I just found the story mentioned. Says here, Minneapolis police officer killed a man in an exchange of gunfire during a traffic stop on Wednesday evening.
So that Wednesday.
Apparently the dude was a felon or something, but they killed him. Yeah, they killed this dude. So, and people were protesting again last night. There are people on the streets of Minneapolis.
It never stops. It never stops. Now, let me dive into why we bring this up. Because once again, I love to see the propaganda, and this is why it's super important for us to debunk this while it happened. Let me fix this so you guys can see it here. See, this is what happens with OBS glitches every once in a while. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
And the thing is, they killed this dude, and they killed George Floyd back in May. Legit, just a few months later, they killed another innocent person. And George Floyd was only back in May.
Yeah, so
I know
ridiculous.
in the New York Times articles, there was like a sentence that read something like, the Minneapolis Police Department, which hasn't killed an unarmed black man since like June. I'm like, the way you phrase that is almost like you bragged. Like, this is your new high scores. You've gone 5 months with, you know what I mean?
And the media, even the media that people accuse of being liberal media, and I cover this on my show all the time, they literally do propaganda for the police departments all the time. Even whenever they cover police, the few amount of time they cover the police critically, it's literally laced with propaganda that people don't even realize. I cover this on my show all the time. Why literally the people are like, all right, why they frame it this way? Why they say this? Why they do that? They literally do this all the time. And now let me pull it to what caused me to discuss this in the first place. This is the Fox News anti-defund the police propaganda they're pulling up. And when I saw this, I can't help but think this is nothing other than an hilarious self-own. Let take my picture out of the way so you guys can see it. So this is the headline.
This was literally the same police department that killed George Floyd, and they killed another innocent person at a traffic stop.
Yeah, they don't learn. They don't learn. So as you guys see on the stream here, this is the Fox News headline that came out yesterday. Violence surges in cities amid the defund the police movement. That says right there. And now, this is hilarious because the defund the police, and this is the argument I've been making, the defund the police movement is deeply, deeply unserious. There's no thought against opposing defund the police. It's just the default assumption that the police are good. That because people go through propaganda throughout the course of their entire lives. And that's why one of the things I focus on my channel is communicating why defund the police is so important, and I want to debunk the propaganda talking points that even some on the left fall for. Even some on the left, the same people that gonna be celebrating with us when we actually finish the work of defund the police, the same people who celebrate when we got the civil rights movement done. They were concern troll in the civil rights movement, and then they got done. Oh yeah, it was amazing. All the cities, all that. Like, bitch, you was opposed to us, and trust me, I remember. I'm not gonna forget once again, people shit on Jimmy Dore, but Jimmy Dore, he did stories bashing the cops. There are a lot of people in progressive media right now who are avoiding this because they think it's unpopular. Because they saw the initial polling, they saw 52% of American people are opposed to defund the police. But now I've been covering the ground we made because I saw that number at first. I'm like, I'm not even sweating. Because our argument is so strong. I knew, just like with Medicare for All, just like when you legalize weed, just like when you talking about making gay marriage legal, like, these things are deeply unpopular at one point, and then they become popular. How did that happen? Because your argument for that is so strong, it's only a matter of time before you break through. So when I saw those initial polls, I'm like, okay, let's start chipping away at it. And that's what I'm doing in my channel. Because these social movements, it takes time. And these social movements are only accomplished after untold amount of hours of debunking the establishment wave of attacks against you. So once again, if you're one of the progressives who repeat the concern trolling talking points against the defund the police, you are not helping. Like, once again, I love Crystal Ball, but she one of the people on her show like, yeah, defund the police, they should actually put a new slogan. You're not helping, You're not helping, Crystal. You're not helping. Because what you're doing, you are propping up. She said it on one of her. I seen the video. I saw her recently when she was like, yeah, I'm one of the people that think, yeah, I don't think you should have defund the police. I don't think that's the best slogan. I'm like, whoa, come on, Crystal. Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
When we say defund the police, we mean exactly what we mean.
The slogan is literally what like slogans. And then once again, I'm not hating on Crystal Ball because she actually attacked Obama when he was going attacking sloganeering, but she actually agrees with them. I thought that was kind of weird. But defund the police literally says what we're gonna do. Like how can you say something a bad slogan when we gain our point literally across? And how can you say something a bad slogan where we made gains? Like it was like a plus 18 jump in defund the police approval ratings in with 6 months. And that's with the corporate media and the Democratic Party and these progressives fear-mongering against it. Even with all the opposition we went against in terms of defund the police movement, we still made massive grounds. So once again, I don't want to see you taking the victory lap once we are successful at the end of it, because once again, I already covered that when you look at Oakland, we look at Minneapolis, we're already seeing the fruits of the labor, right? Now, when I go back to the Fox News story, the stuff on that article should be pretty damn obvious. Because they're like, in the midst of defund the police, and you look at the story, they cover how the national crime rate is rising. I'm like, we haven't defunded the police yet. So isn't that a giant omission that your current standard police budget does nothing to prevent crime? That's the argument Al Sharpton was making. Once again, they send all the black leaders coming out against it to delegitimize the movement. Al Sharpton was like, black people don't support defund the police, which is a blatant lie. Like, when you look at the polling, when they first did the polling, there was only 2 groups. And I'm talking about the unpopular polling, the first polling that came out in the summer. A lot of people didn't actually read. They read the headline. They were like, the headline was like, defund police is massively unpopular. But you actually dive into it, black people supported like 2-1. 2-1, black people supported the defund the police movement. And Democrats and black people. That was the only 2 groups that supported it at the time. So when Al Sharpton said black people don't support it, so he already lying. And then his explanation was, you have, our communities is ridden with crime. So we defund the police, we're going to be the one who's hurt. The communities can't afford not to have this fascist police system in our community because the crime rate is so high in Chicago and in New York and a lot of these urban areas. If you take 1 second to understand why that makes no sense. So if the crime rate is high when we already have police budgets, doesn't that mean we should actually allocate those to systems and programs that would reduce the crime rate? So we already have a high police budget, but it's doing nothing to reduce crime.
It sounds like they just suck at their jobs.
Exactly. It's almost like they don't give a fuck. And thing is, it's not just that they suck at their job. They literally don't do it. Like there's like half of rape kits don't get used in rape cases. Like people women get raped, they report it, and the cops don't even use the rape kits. Like I told my story all the time when I had my apartment broken into. I'm like, hey, I'm like, because I was at that age, I felt for Propganda as well. I was like, oh man, someone stole my laptop. I'm gonna call the police. They didn't have fingerprints, because when you look at Propganda TV shows, it's always cops like, we gotta solve the crime, man. Like they like dead serious, like they passionate about solving the crime. The police came out.
Everybody's Batman, like everybody's.
Yeah, everyone Batman.
Batman.
All of them are super righteous. They all care about the victims of the crime in an extreme amount of way. I called them. They broke in. They looked at my apartment. I'm thinking like they don't run fingerprints. Like, I'm thinking that they're gonna be doing investigation. Like they knocked the door. Like you can easily run fingerprints for that's what I thought was gonna happen. Let me get my Discord back up. All right, I'm back. That's just Discord being shitty. But what I expected they was gonna do was run fingerprints, look in the system, find the guy. They literally got there and was like, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about this. And then
it's like the police suck at their job. Nothing happens to them. Now apply that to like us. What happens if we suck at our job? We're done. Bye. We're gone. Like we're fired.
Exactly.
The police suck at their job. Nothing happens to them.
It's the same thing. Literally the same thing in the military. Like, half the time they're not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, what are you spending your time all day doing? There clearly cannot be that much crime. Like for all of you to have that much of a budget. And if there is that much crime, then like back to square one. You suck at your job.
Yeah, I mean what you're doing is not working. And if I'm saying, like literally studies show increased funding in education reduced the crime rate. Access to mental health care facilities reduced the crime rate. Increased education, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Decrease. I don't know if I say increase. I mean decreases the crime rate. So instead of if you're Al Sharpton, you're concerned. Well, by the way, Al Sharpton is a CIA informer. By the way, that's a story for another time.
100%. That's not even up for debate.
Yeah. Everyone that on the progressive left, that's not even debatable. That's not even a conspiracy theory. So if our communities are crime rated, why aren't you supporting what will actually reduce the crime? Like why? Like you guys do this? Why I said they deeply unserious because they didn't think about this for 1 second because they use that talking point all the time. Just like this Fox News story, they use that talking point all the time. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can add on to that really. I think the problem that we have as like leftists in terms of our grassroots organizing and meeting people is the biggest gift to the establishment was coronavirus. Because think about it, when we had these protests, when people were fed up with the lockdowns and people actually protest in the streets, you forced the media to cover you.
Exactly.
People in the streets, they talk to CNN, they talk to MSNBC, Fox News. They're talking to people in a way where it breaks the media mold and how they shape a story. So now you have the grassroots organizers, they're creating the story. Now the media has to cover it, and before they can find a way to spin or change the narrative, they have to just say the true story unfiltered. Now, and that's actually why the American people overall approved of a police precinct being burnt down. Like, think about that. And so if you look at
It's
it
fucking
nowadays,
awesome.
I know. So if you look at it
I was
nowadays,
celebrating that.
I mean, yeah. So if you look at it nowadays, though, the problem we have now is that we can't create the story and hold the story and for a while and prepare before the media tries to distort it. Now we have to come to the media. The media actually came to us with the protests. Now we have to come to the media, and the media is very good at locking us out. So that's how they're able to frame an argument and make these stereotypes and framings of the story that's not accurate, which hurts us as a cause. So
Yeah.
coronavirus is the biggest gift for the establishment because they get to funnel money upwards to the rich. They get to shut out grassroots movements that can actually push change to go, and they can run in this austerity measure where nothing happens and they don't get any punishment for it.
And to top it all off, icing on the cake, all of the people that would fucking, probably vote against them, the poorest people without health insurance, are all suffocating in their lung fluid right now.
And you mentioned, I remember you said that there's less, and this is such a great point. You literally have more rules of engagement in the military than you do the police. Like you realize, like a lot of people don't realize that tear gas is a war crime. And then there was a story I cover on my show. Like they was literally using poison gas. Like there was, I mean, this wasn't like independent news that reported. I mean, this was widely reported. There was signs of them using poison gas. So they literally committing war crimes on their own people. So and this is, go ahead.
Even at the most simplest like execution of this, which would be like some sort of like low level like tear gas or pepper spray, like there's a pandemic going on that is infecting people's lungs, and you're throwing that into crowds of people. You know what I mean? Like,
How's that? How is that not
what are you
radicalized anyway?
doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, what are you doing? And then like rubber bullets, like understand these aren't non-lethal. They're what's called less than lethal, like munitions.
Yeah, they're
That
literally
still means
metal
lethal.
bullets wrapped in rubber.
Yeah.
They're still bullets. Like they're still bullets. Just
Like people were
wrapped in
losing
rubber.
teeth, people were losing eyes. Like people was getting just fucked up in this protest. Like I heard constant
Stories of cops
yeah.
aiming for people's genitals.
Yeah, dude, they were psychopaths, and this is why I joined Tinderman. I want to co-founder of Awkward, and I talked to these people. Go ahead.
I kind of want to speak on this too for the older generation because I think this is the part we're missing. So back in the civil rights movement and the anti-war movements back then, older people, there's this saying too where okay, you can go out and fight for these civil rights as a young person, but we as the old person, we're gonna stay at home. We'll feed you, we'll house you, we'll make sure you're clean, and then we'll send you back on your way. So they're not themselves gonna be out there on the front lines. But if you translate to today's movement, now parents and grandparents are teaching their kids, don't go out there protesting, get arrested, and I can't see you. Don't put yourself in harm's way like that. I'm not gonna let you go out there and do that. So previous generation, they say, okay, you're gonna do this. I'm gonna make sure you're fed and housed and make sure you're safe. Nowadays, parents are teaching themselves not to even fight and go against it. So that kind of prolongs this more conservative message of, well, you have to just lay the party politics line, wait your turn. And that's kind of where the police is going. I mean, I have family who have friends that are cops and stuff, and they're extremely conservative in terms of police. They believe in having a big police budget. They like their police officers, and that's very scary.
And once again, it's the clear divide, and this is why I don't consider liberals as anywhere near being my allies. I mean, they can join my side. They can join with me, and we can become friends that way. But you literally have liberals who still believe that police protect and serve their communities. They literally believe that. So yeah, they protect and serve white communities. They protect the liberal class, the Amy Cooper Democrats. That's what I like to call them. Why do they love tough on crime prosecutors so much? Look at Kamala Harris. Look at Amy Klobuchar. Look at Claire McCaskill. Like, Claire McCaskill trended, and everyone got mad when I was bashing her because she was a Missouri senator. And I was super happy when she lost. She was a fucking cop. And the Show Me Cannabis movement in Kansas City has made great grounds. Amazing grounds, despite Claire McCaskill. Claire McCaskill will find the Defund the Police movement the entire time during her very short Senate term. And she was like, yeah, I'm an old school prosecutor. And she used the same talking points Republicans would use. I'm an old school prosecutor. The weed on the streets right here, they're way stronger than the weed back in my day. Like, I literally posted a quote, because that when she was trending, people got mad at me when I was attacking her. And I was like, this is what she said. This is what she did. She agreed with Trump on immigration. Like, when she was when Napoleon was showing her getting close to Holly, she was like, she ran an ad. I wish I had it saved, because someone sent it to me while I was going off on her when she was trending. But she literally ran an ad like, yeah, Claire McCaskill stands with Trump on immigration. The Border Control, they stand with Claire McCaskill. So my question is, what the hell do you guys stand for? So I'd rather her lose, we get someone like Josh Hawley, and then we have a chance at least to defeat him. Like, I'd rather, so will you rather have someone like Claire McCaskill in charge for 30 years, like Dianne Feinstein? Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, been in office for 30 years. Jim Clyburn,
all so old.
That they are old because they're trying to block the progressive generation upcoming. Cause even the younger neoliberals, they at least agree on stuff like legalizing marijuana. That's why I showed the percentage of Congress. I mean, the amount of silent generation and boomers in Congress right now is insanity. I don't think that's an accident. They're doing that because they know that they're the last generation that really upholding corporate power. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are young liberals and neoliberals, but at least they can be moved on some issues like marijuana legalization. Claire McCaskill was against it until her dying day. And then it's funny because she lost her seat. The year she lost her seat is the year we expanded Medicaid. The year she lost her seat is the year we approved medical marijuana. So she went against medical marijuana and lost because of it. Of it. So I'd rather her lose and us have a chance to defeat Josh Hawley when she up for re-election than having her in that seat for decades, like Dianne Feinstein. How long Jim Clyburn been in this seat? What, since the 80s? Like, isn't it better?
That's the guy from South Carolina. Right?
Yeah, South Carolina.
Yeah.
The one of the worst black leaders of all time. So what's better? And this is the long term thing. I'm thinking long term. So what's better? I'd rather us take an L for 6 years, and then come back and have a chance to have a progressive, better senator, than let some piece of shit win, and then continue to let them win for decades and decades and decades. Because Dianne Feinstein being in charge of California, people like Nancy Pelosi being in charge of California, that's why it's the neoliberal hellhole today. Now imagine if in some sort of alternate reality, everyone had the mindset that I have. Imagine if California was willing to take an L in the 80s. Like, they let Nancy Pelosi lose and they got a chance to actually replace her with someone else. It would be in a much better position if they took that suggestion, right? Like, that's my theory change. That's why I'm like, even I bash shit out of John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, which pisses the Democrats off a lot. But I tell people, vote your conscience. Since they're not active war criminals. For example, you can never justify voting for a war criminal, someone with a record like Joe Biden has. Like, you can't justify that to me. Period. Amen. You can't justify that because they're no lesser to evil. But honestly, in my opinion, this is where people could outflank me from the left on this. If you're a young up-and-coming guy and you don't have like a war criminal history, I don't see anything wrong with rolling dice and just getting rid of your Republican senator. But then they become a senator. Like, let's say John Ossoff wins, he become a senator, and he complicit with the war crimes that Joe Biden will do. I mean, it only took Obama 3 days to commit his first war crime. I doubt it'll take longer than a month for Joe Biden to do his. So let's say Ossoff and Warnock wins, right? And then let's say they become complicit with the war crimes that Joe Biden has done. Don't support them in re-election. Let them lose. Try again. And people will get mad at me for even suggesting that. But isn't that the best way to have the change? Like, take an L and then come back with a better candidate next time. That's why I believe. But that's why I don't get mad at people if they feel like they have to, if they want to vote against their senator. Do what you gotta do. But once you start like propping up war criminals and people who are like obviously blatantly corrupt, then I think you lost the plot. And once again, there's people on Twitter think I'm super unreasonable. How's that unreasonable? I don't not understand how that's an unreasonable position. Like people assume I'm unreasonable, and there are a lot of people like Jackie and a lot of people I have on my show that's to my left. They're like, hell nah, I won't vote. I wouldn't vote for a Democrat any time. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Vote your conscience. Do what you gotta do. But that's what I believe. If there was
No, there's a big difference between when Joe Biden sells missiles to Saudi Arabia and when Donald Trump does it. Those are two very different things. I haven't quite figured out how they're different, but they're different.
And once again, Joe Biden, I covered this on my show. The biggest thing the liberals was running against that was shame people that refused to vote for Joe Biden. Like, what about the kids in cages? What about ICE? What about the harsh immigration? Joe Biden literally just said he's not going to do anything about that. Nothing. Nada.
So fuck that, because he just said that, right? So I can almost like give you a pass if you did that prior to the election, right? Because like him saying he wasn't going to do it came out like after the election in a genuinely shitty move. But so okay, my thing is though is like, did you guys not pay attention to the election like in South Florida? Like Joe Biden and Donald Trump were literally having like a fucking Castro off, like a Castro Maduro fight fest. Who could be like more hawkish on Venezuela and Cuba?
And the craziest thing too is that Trump almost won Miami-Dade County. Think about that. Like a Republican winning Miami-Dade County.
The red flags.
County too.
No, the red flags was
like
there.
He was close.
The thing is, like people got mad at me because I literally said it before the election. I said he's not gonna do anything about ICE. He's not gonna change the immigration system. And people was like, what? They were literally faking towards it already. That's why they said Latinos are not a big part of their strategy to win. That's why I knew from the very beginning that he was just saying whatever it takes to win. Like I knew from the very beginning. Like everything and every way they was running, it showed. Like Kamala Harris asked about ICE during the campaign. She said, "No, I think we should stand with ICE." I'm like, what? What? I covered the story earlier. Let me see if I can find a link. I keep saying I covered it, but I'll show it to you guys.
I feel like the simplest way of defunding the police is abolishing ICE.
Yep.
Abolishing ICE, and that's that. I'm really glad you said that because that's the point I made on Twitter. I don't think I said it on stream yet. Maybe I did, but you guys realize that by ending the drug war, that's another way of defunding the police, right? So if you are for
and drugs have already won that.
Yeah, drugs already won that war. So this is what you hear this all the time. Liberals are like, yeah, we should end the drug war. I don't think we should defund the police. That's the what are you doing? What are you talking about? like what do you think the police get their funding for? Like, what the fuck do you think the liberals? What do you think they get their funding? I don't know the exact breakdown, but it's an insane amount of their budget goes towards fighting the drug war. Vast majority of what they do is fighting against the drug war. So if you end the drug war, that's another way of defunding the police. Once again, they are deeply, deeply unserious people. I want to see if I can find that ICE story because there's an ICE story that come out. Because this is the thing, I don't know if I can find it quickly here, but it was a story that was covering how ICE will literally purposely lie during the write-ups. They'll forge documents. They'll forge signatures, and they could do that because there's no overhead on ICE. Their overhead is soft on the people they're supposed to be looking after. So I can't find the story right now, but I covered it on my show where they were literally had ICE commit a human rights violation. They did an audit on that, and they caught them lying on the documents. Like they will literally make up records to erase the fact of them committing human rights violations. So my question to liberals and to Democrats: how do you stop that from happening? So liberals say, okay, yeah, we did keep ICE, but ICE is not going to be ran as harshly under Joe Biden as it is Donald Trump. How does that make sense? Because you guys realize that the forced hysterectomy stories that came out during the campaign, which made liberals lose their fucking mind, and this is when they really start calling Trump a fascist when that story came out. But if you actually read the story, they said the forced hysterectomy started in 2014 when Barack Obama was president. So how do you stop ICE and the people in charge of ICE? And this is the point that you made earlier, Carlos, as well, regarding the military and regarding the police. the kind of people that attracts. The kind of people that are attracted to ICE, the people who want to do this stuff, are the most horrific people in our society. These are the people who want to go after immigrants. These are the people who legitimately hate brown people. They are psychotic. And you want to trust them to police themselves? I mean, once again, the story already proved that they wanted to forge documents and lie and cover up official record and cover up the fact that they were committing human rights violation. That's the theory behind the forced hysterectomy thing, because they forced women to have abortions and hysterectomies because they was raping them. That's why
I
they.
have a question though.
Wait,
What's the question?
Okay, is ICE a part of Homeland Security?
It's part of DHS. Yeah, Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, it's part of that umbrella, and that's why people. And I was talking to one of my good Latina friend activists, and she said people who are just saying abolishing ICE is missing a big part of the puzzle. You need abolish DHS, which I'm for as well, because the Department of Homeland Security is literally a rogue agency. I want you guys to understand that. It's a rogue agency with no accountability, and it no longer is serving the mandate it was originally designed to, because the Department of Homeland Security is supposed to design to protect human civilians. But if you actually look at what the Department of Homeland Security does now, it's literally cracking down on our rights. Like, that's what DHS does. Now DHS operates as a military militia of the executive branch now. That's how they was able to kidnap people in Portland.
My point was, too, the reason why I asked that question is because this was an agency that was even hated during the Bush years. This was created under George Bush. Like, this became an elevated agency
they all support
under
it now.
George Bush.
No,
And
hilarious.
so so even when Barack Obama was running, Barack Obama had every opportunity, Democrats had every opportunity congressionally to not necessarily eradicate this agency, but at least not make it a high-level executive branch agency, lower it back down to what it used to be before. Kind of like what the George Bush did to FEMA. FEMA used to be like a secondary executive branch level position. Now it's a first level type of position. So Democrats and Barack Obama had a chance to get rid of ICE back then. So if we couldn't do that back then with a supermajority House, supermajority Senate, okay, and a somewhat palatable Supreme Court majority or minority, I'm not really sure about the Supreme Court, then how can we do that now when the margins are so close between Republicans and Democrats? And especially now, since we know that Barack Obama deported more Mexicans with ICE than Donald Trump, and Joe Biden's doing this austerity measure saying America is back, especially with foreign policy and this suspect domestic policy with ICE, I just don't see how.
And this is the argument that I was making throughout the course of the election that drove people crazy. I drove them crazy because they couldn't debunk it. So what would they say? They say Trump is a fascist. Trump is the worst evil. Trump is the worst thing of all time. So what I propose to them: how can you be the lesser of two evils if you're advancing the forces of oppression that created his evil? You know what I mean? So what I mean by that is they will say that the kids in cages are the number one thing why Trump is awful, and that's why he's a fascist. But if you are willing to keep the kids in cages, if you want to keep ICE, you are complicit with that forces of oppression that they are using. And I'm paying attention, and I said it in tweets multiple times, and I literally got shit from my left on this. I literally said I need to see Joe Biden commit to Medicare for all, and I'm like, dude, if you do that, you can win me over. But if you're not even doing that, are you kidding? Like, literally, you advancing the forces of oppression of the healthcare industry, which leads to the fact that 31% of black people will have medical debt, which leads to the death of 68,000 Americans each year. You are advancing the forces of oppression of ICE and the DHS. And remember, during the whole Portland thing, I was ringing the bell on Twitter all the time, like, hey, why ain't Joe Biden saying anything about this? Why not Joe Biden not saying anything about this? Because he want to use those powers. He want to use those powers of DHS. We like that, doing that kind of stuff is off the table. Joe Biden said they were competing against each other on who's gonna fund the police more. In the middle of the George Floyd protest, in the middle of the massive racial justice protest going on right now, Joe Biden was attacking Trump on his right on that issue. Okay, so I'm not. So let me finish. You go right. Let me finish one last thought. So if you're propping up all these forces of oppression that created the evil of Trump, what makes you necessarily lesser evil? But go ahead. I don't know who.
Question though too, because if we don't necessarily know what Joe Biden is for and against, just like I'm gonna create a side example to get to my main example. So the reason why Trump himself is so difficult to understand ideologically is because we don't know what he's for and against. So he requires counsel, those in his immediate circle to help him make policy-based decisions. So my main argument with Biden is who is in his ear during his presidency that's going to tell him where to go on certain policy issues? Is it Kamala Harris, his vice president? Is it Barack Obama, his
It's
ex-president? Like, who
it's
is
a
this person that's going to be, or who is this council or people
it's a
that's going to
mixture.
be in his circle?
It's a mixture of people depending on what the issue is, you know. Like presidents do have, you know, their staff. So like, you know, for example, with the State Department and foreign policy, you're gonna be looking at Tony Blinken, right? Like
Oh my god.
he which is gonna be a fun person to talk about, but he'll be the person that's gonna kind of dictate like this is what, you know, Joe Biden's going to be doing as far as like Iran, Venezuela, you know. He's gonna be the Mike Pompeo, right? And so you can actually just kind of start to see now with the formation of his cabinet, the type of leader he's going to be. And you're seeing a lot of people returning from the Obama years. Basically, it looks like basically Joe Biden's going to be like a speed run of the Obama years. And let's not forget that Obama, a lot of people in his administration were, you know, pullouts from the Clinton years. So it's
And
the same neoliberal order.
I guess like my question was kind of didn't put it the way I wanted to. So I agree with your argument. That's like the political argument in terms of groups. What I'm getting at is like who is the person that has this personal affiliation that Biden likes that he'll listen to politically. Like if you look at American history, Lyndon Johnson, he liked Dick Russell. Dick Russell to him was like his father, so he would listen to him regardless of anything politically, and he would go with him. If you look at the 70s, it was Henry Kissinger with Richard Nixon. Okay,
Well, he
so
really does like Tony Blinken. He's been with Blinken since like the late
Yeah.
90s.
He was the guy that advised Joe Biden to support the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's been with Tony Blinken for quite some time. So when it comes to foreign policy, that's gonna be your dude.
So throughout the course of the campaign, he was like, "Yeah, I didn't support." He lied about his support of the Iraq War,
Yeah.
like constantly lied about it. Even though he was one of the chief architects of that, like he was pushing to go in the Iraq War and Iraq in the '90s because Tony
didn't he
Blinken
write
was
the
advising.
Patriot
him.
Act too?
Yeah. He claims
I mean,
he claims he had something to do with the Patriot Act, and I don't remember the name of the bill, but there was something that came before the Patriot Act that he had a lot to do with, and that what they kind of use as a framework to get the Patriot Act through. But Joe Biden's talking points and the talking points of Democrats, they were like, "Oh, we learned from our lesson of the Iraq War. We learned our lesson of the Afghanistan war." Now that doesn't make sense at face value, right? But if Joe Biden really learned his lesson in the Iraq war and he really feel bad about it, why would he hire the guy that talked him into it? Go ahead.
and yeah, and not only that, I want to just point out how fucking stupid this Blinken character is. But for the Iraq war,
You know more about him?
Yeah, I know a lot about this guy.
Yeah, I know the basics, but so break it down.
But one of the absolute nonsensical things that this guy proposed was actually cutting Iraq up into 3 separate countries based off of like ethnic territories. That didn't happen because it's a terribly fucking stupid idea. But this guy is just like an absolute monster. He was one of the leaders in kind of starting that whole infiltration of Libya and getting Gaddafi killed, and now Libya has fucking modern day slave markets in it. That's him. He probably won't be backing down. He'll be being more hawkish in Latin America towards Cuba and Venezuela. The one thing I will give him credit on is he was one of the key players in formulating the Iran deal, which is, you know, a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
So I will give him credit there. But oh my God, I don't know how you guys feel about this. This is where we may come into disagreements, but this dude was the biggest Russiagator ever.
Oh no, we didn't get along really. We didn't. This is Carlos's first episode, but that's something I've been covering for a very long time. Is debunking Russiagate.
Yeah,
And
he's a Russiagating tycoon.
And that's why he was hired. Joe Biden is he's gonna literally ramp up the new Cold War that Donald Trump already started.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be worse. It's gonna be horrible. We got whole enough. We gotta do a whole segment. We probably do that very soon, breaking down Blinken and his record. I covered him, and Michelle Envoy, I believe. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. Who's she the defense secretary. I think Blinken the Secretary of State, and then she the Defense Secretary, right? Always,
That's correct.
Yeah, sometimes I flip those, but I think I got it right that time. So we don't really dive into the evils of Tony Blinken. This is once again a lot of people who don't cover foreign policy. A lot of the progressives who was selling the idea that we should vote for Joe Biden. It was very curious how they didn't care about foreign policy. Like the same people who was like pushing Biden, they will never cover foreign policy on their show. And that's not a coincidence. Because if you know anything about foreign policy, you can see how the idea of the lesser two evils made no sense. Because once again, you have people here who hardline on Russia, which is insanely dangerous. They're gonna be hardline on China, extremely dangerous. You're gonna see the criticism that Joe Biden was making throughout the campaign on Trump on Venezuela, that he didn't get it done. That was his complaint. So they're gonna want him to do that again. Go ahead.
And honestly, there's a lot more to him too, man. Like,
yep.
Take into consideration like Turkey, right? So Turkey just invaded, or excuse me, Turkey didn't invade. Turkey supported an invasion of Armenia, right? Like through the use of sailing drones. And anytime Turkey gets more powerful, that's actually like a power play against Russia, right? Because Turkey's a big geopolitical enemy of Russia in the region. So it's kind of like, I might not be friends with you, but if I punch the other guy that you don't like in the face, that like by default helps you. And so that's like a game that we're playing with Russia right now, which is terrifying. I mean, from literally every region of the world, this guy is just a neoliberal monster.
So when next time are you available tomorrow? Because I actually want to cover like the extensive record of Blink. I know the general overlay of him, but it seems like you got a pretty good read on him. So I want to do a segment on that. So that's a very good point that you were making. What I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna get to some of the comments in here. I apologize I haven't read comments this stream, but we've been having a conversation. Hopefully you guys was enjoying. So I want to bring you on. Let's discuss. Claire, we can do that segment tomorrow whenever you're available. Like really breaking down Blinken and Envoy and their evil. Simple average person said a lot of white people get on board with defund the police now. There is a resurgence of critical thinking. So once again, why is that happening? That's happening because once again, the messaging that we're constantly putting out there. Like once again, part of 10 demands. So I'm just one cog in the machine. So we have my boy Awkward. We have a lot of great people who are putting a massive work. My great friend Patrona from 10 Demand. We and then there's 8 to Abolition, another group. For some reason people like to try and pit them together, but we're actually really close. Like we agree on the overall end game. So because the work that we have done, and because of people in progressive media, like I'm trying to do, and what I'm doing on Twitter, and why I debunk this stuff publicly, is that we get people to acknowledge, like, damn, we have been hit with a lot of propaganda, a ton of propaganda. So I'm glad you point that out to the average person. Go ahead.
We're the culture of Hollywood, man. I mean, we're gonna be the most susceptible propaganda people ever. Like,
absolutely. That's why
I fucking love Rush Hour. Those movies.
I love that movie too. I love Rush Hour. I love Die Hard. But the people who think that shit is real life are clowns and deeply unserious people. Some average person continues. This is another comment. Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein are the best evidence of election fraud. Maybe, but also California is a neoliberal hellhole. I got a great friend who lives in California who breaks it down to me in a great way. And this was something that I was shocked about when I heard, because I used to be, back when my dumb lib days I'm very open about, I used to be jealous of California. I'm like, man, they must be some sort of like progressive like paradise. And that was conservatives, they still pretend that. But California is deeply, deeply neoliberal. It's a deep neoliberal hellhole. And I saw someone point this out on Twitter. See, like San Francisco is a deeply right-wing city, and they infuse capitalism with a fake version of social progressivism with an element of social Darwinism. I heard him play that quote, like, damn, that's fire. I gotta remember that. So what he said, San Francisco and their politics is deeply right-wing, mixed with false progressivism, based on social movements, but it's deeply the belief of social Darwinism. I butchered it last time, but that's literally what it is. They're really hardcore capitalists, and the social Darwinism is real because that's why they step over homeless people. Because they like liberals, they really believe that if you're homeless, you deserve it. If you're hungry, you deserve it because you didn't climb the capitalist system. That's what they believe. So when I say, I remember I made a tweet. Once again, they tried to give me ratio, it didn't work. Luckily, because my comrades got me back. But there were a ton of people in that Pelosi defenders. I said Nancy Pelosi is an unhinged far right winger, and there are literally liberals that were quoting me like, "What? How can you say Nancy Pelosi is a right winger? That make no sense." Now I know what you guys thinking. The idea that anyone will object to Nancy Pelosi being a right winger is insanity. But this is what they really believe. That was literally what they really believe. Social Drift said, "Do you see Bree talking about how literally no one in leftist media held Ben to account for calling her an Uncle Tom?" Essentially, Ben fucked his own. Like he shot himself in the foot, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I was friends with Ben on Twitter. Like we always got along on Twitter. I unfollowed his ass after that. I unfollowed his ass after that because I can disagree with you, and I disagree with Ben on a lot of issues. Like he was he was always soft on Elizabeth Warren. He was advocating for voting for Joe Biden. I didn't care about that. But once you reveal yourself as a not an honest actor, I don't want anything to do with you. Anything to do with you. So Ben Dixon is probably one of the most disappointing stories of this year. Like not on a large scale. Like when you look at smaller scales, like happenings on the left, easily one of the most disappointing shit I've ever seen in my life. I think someone about chime in. Go ahead. I'll cut someone off, I think.
Yeah, well, Kayla the Communist kind of warned us about this a long time ago, so shout out to her.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that warned me about Ben, like, because I was always friendly with them. People were like, "Yo, I don't know why you like Ben, fuck that guy." But I was like, man, I don't like, but my thing is I legitimately don't like going after, because now that I have my platform that I do that, I'm blessed to have my platform. I try to use my platform and go after neoliberals and Democratic Party and conservative. Like even when I got to leftist, like you had to do something really fucked up for me to quote for you and try and get you ratio as a leftist. That's why I don't like to spend a lot of time. Like me and Vosh had our debate, we went at it, but then I immediately dropped it. Like, all right, you're not relevant. I don't care. Like anything that, like if you support Medicare for all, you support progressive Democrats. I don't care. I don't want to waste time in my space going against you. But what Bree said is really true. But anyone at the same time, I do got to question it because he did get fucked up. Like he lost like what 20,000 followers after that. Maybe he should have lost more because what he did, it was horrific. I stopped following him, and we were friends. I talked to Beth. Beth was friends with him as well. It's just heartbroken. It's just really depressing to see someone sell out so unashamedly like that. But I think RJ was about to say something. I think just I got disconnected on Discord. Anything you guys want to add before I move on? I've been ranting here. Rabbit Fufu said defund liberals. That's funny. Nice. Predictable Life, this is on YouTube, said those stories aren't new. The CPS is the same toxic shit. CPS, Child Protective Services, yes. I think that's what that means. I heard nothing but horrible things about Child Protective Services as well. DHS, CBP, DEA, ATF, all these alphabet, constitutional, Gestapo need to go. That was Simple Average Person said, yep. What you guys thoughts on that? Because I literally tweeted everything out. I tweeted like abolish CIA, abolish ICE. I remember I made one tweet where I literally listed everything I want abolished, and then they actually did really well. I actually had a lot of liberals like that. I'm like, do you really agree with me? Because I put it on top with, I'm like, so conservatives say they for small government. This is what they pretend. They pretend they're for small government. They pretend they support Don't Tread on Me. But at the end of the day, they were all supportive of these big tread on me government work agencies. So I'm like, as a libertarian socialist, I outflank you all day, every day. Yeah. So C Dubs, I saw you just say I'll support him on Patreon and Twitch too. It was disappointing, and you stopped following him. Yeah, he really he fucked his own stuff up. But I'm assuming that him doing that, he must have some sort of liberal contacts and a move he want to do in his career next. But yeah, he just lost all credibility.
Yeah, apparently him and Jason Johnson are pretty good friends.
Yeah, they're good friends now. So yeah, he's trying to get into that Jason Johnson gig, which is unbelievably shameful. This I don't know how to say your name. Nizuiji, whatever. Same party, different color ties with their suits. Good comment there. 100% agree with that. I'm gonna get the rest of the comments. We on the I'm gonna address as many comments I can before I get caught up pretty much and we wrap up. I'm gonna tell them that taking questions, ask me anything, comrades. Tweet that last thing out. That'd be my last tweet I made on this about the stream here. Let's see. I'm like barely into the comments before they get deleted. So I'm catching up to them, guys. I appreciate y'all patience. The Republicans have been taken over by Stephen A. Douglas Democrats. That was simple average person said. Dragging Me Out said, why can't libs bring themselves out to call the most racist institution in power the two-party system? Because the liberals benefit from all these systems. I mean, when I look at the most racist systems, I mean, I'm talking about the two-party system is really bad, but the police, CIA. I mean, CIA I can do a whole nother episode. I want to bring my good friend Alicia on Twitter. We talk about the CIA all the time. I want to bring her on because I know a lot about CIA, but her knowledge is insanity. You can literally, I talked to Shahid on this on the phone about the CIA as well. I mean, like, if you don't know the history of the CIA, you don't know American history. Whatever you think you know, whatever you think you understand about American history, you really don't know unless you know CIA. And I would say the CIA, on top of the police, is some of the most racist institution. And the idea of abolishing the CIA is literally unthinkable for liberals. This is why I don't consider them allies. Let's see what else we have here. This is great comments, guys. I'm catching up to them. C-Dub, the same guy who abandoned Ben Dixon, said, I've been following you on Twitter for a while. Happy to see you have a Twitch stream. Couldn't chat till now. Happy to support a true leftist streamer. Thank you, my friend, my homie. I really appreciate that. And I do see on my mini feed now you subscribe. I appreciate that so much. So I'm a new thing I'm running. All my Twitch subscribers. Like you see, I'm having my conversation with my friend RJ and Sienna. She on now. I would love to bring some of you guys on for a quick conversation as a way to thank you for the subscription because all this stuff really helps me out. I'm like at the very beginning part of content creation where I'm not making money on this. Like my YouTube channel literally just got monetized. I hit affiliate on Twitch just 2 months ago. So I'm literally just now making a very small amount of money from this. So anything that you guys can do to support my channel if you enjoy the content, I'll greatly appreciate that. So yeah, thank you C-Dubs for that comment there. And that's why I've been tweeting my streams out more because it's funny because I have 55,000 followers, but literally almost every single time I stream, people will be like, oh, damn, I didn't know you streamed. I didn't know you had a YouTube page. Because my problem was I sucked at advertising for a long time because I wasn't 100% sure I was going to do this. But I got a lot of good project planned for next year, and I'm definitely want to... That's my New Year's resolution, is picking up my game as a citizen journalist. I lied, so let that be my last tweet. You got anything you want to say, RJ? I know I've been ranting for a while. If not, that's cool. I've just been talking forever.
Apparently there was a video of Kamala saying that she was for 2K checks a day ago and trying to push it through, and then a day later she votes against it. So that's pretty ironic. But
yeah, that's Kamala. That's Kamala, and what we're gonna deal with her in a nutshell. Like I guarantee you, she said that at the interview just to answer whatever. I don't know what the context of her saying that, but I bet she was asked about it. And this is what Kamala, Obama, this is all they do amazingly. They will just straight up lie just to get a good reaction of whoever was watching at the time. They don't they know it could be fact checked. They know the media not gonna really do it, but they will flat out lie just to get crowd reaction. Like when Joe Biden said he was a supporter of the civil rights movement from day one. When he lies about stuff like that, when he says that, especially when he's talking to black audience, they cheer because he knows that will get them on the side. And then maybe one out of 4 people who watched would catch him as a liar. But he won. He got 3 out of 4 people who believe he's doing great. Right?
And
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One thing I say is that for certain leftists like us, anytime an establishment Democrat co-signs and jumps on board of your movement, prepare to be screwed or prepare to understand that it won't pass. Like Joe Biden a couple days ago, he said the press asked him, "Do you support 2K checks?" He said yes, and then turned away and didn't even explicitly explain why. And once I saw that and that he was for it, I was like, okay, it's not gonna pass.
I lied. I'm gonna say I want people to come in and talk about the New Year's resolution because that's not my New Year's resolution. Gaining legitimacy as an independent journalist and citizen journalist because I just got started. I didn't have any plans on doing this. But I got a platform, and I don't remember the quote. God damn it! Shahid told me this quote. Damn, I don't remember it. But it's something along the lines that if you're like blessed with the platform, you don't use it, you like being irresponsible. I'll fucking butcher that. But pretty much what I'm saying is that now I got this platform, I might as well fucking use it. I didn't expect to have this platform, but now I have it. I'm gonna be kicking and screaming. Let me see. What? Hopefully I didn't miss any comments here. All right. Jay Marie's, there you are. I was wondering where you was at. C-Dub said, I was a fool that I bought into the lesser of two evils and instantly regretted it. Yep, I tell my story all the time about my last vote for the lesser of two evils in 2012. And my thing is I don't go after people individually for the votes. Like, I make the argument passionately that we should vote for the Green Party, and I air my frustrations with people who vote for Joe Biden, but I don't target anyone individually because at the end of the day, you gotta vote your conscience. And when I voted my conscience in 2012, and then I learned more about Obama and the war machine and what he has done, I remember once learning about that, I felt complicit. I felt complicit with everything he did. And if Joe Biden becomes president, and I voted, if I did vote for him, and he overthrows Venezuela, and he continued to ramp up drone strikes, if you continue to escalate the new Cold War, if you continue to fund police departments, I couldn't vote for him in my conscience because I couldn't allow my soul to be complicit with that. There's a level of self-care there. I made a tweet that blew up. Maybe I should tweet it again. It's very, very healthy to hate your oppressors. To me, I really do believe it's bad for your soul. It's bad for your self-respect to vote for your oppressors. Because if you vote for your oppressors, you are inherently telling yourself that your life is of no value. You hear what I'm saying? So if you are being oppressed by the government and you apologize for them and you vote for them, you are inherently telling yourself that your life and your value has no meaning. That a politician can screw you in your community, but that's still the lesser of evil. I think that's bad for your soul. I don't know. People get mad at me for saying that, but I really do believe that's horrible for your mental health, horrible for your self-esteem. That's why I'm proudly against the Democratic Party. Proudly against them because I got self-respect. I love my community, and I will unapologetically oppose anyone who goes against my community. That's why I got my following. That's why a lot of people reach out to me and say they appreciate what I say because I don't take shit from the establishment. Period. Let's see here. What else is in the comments? Man, I said I'm gonna keep going until I catch up. Might as well. I'm still a little bit behind. Let's keep going. I'm having fun. So I was at the lecture to you. I almost lost my spot. The Void here. I just think you just let Blue Annan. I don't know what you're referring to there, but I know Blue Annan is like the Democrats who push their conspiracy theories. Because honestly, I don't believe it or not. I have my own personal theories on what I believe is going to happen based on evidence, but I don't push conspiracy theories. Believe it or not, I don't push conspiracy theories. Like even when people were talking about the election being fraudulent, at least I've seen some people on the left that was like backing up Trump talking points. I'm like, what? Why would you say that? I don't see any evidence for that. Like I need to see like evidence and stuff in order for me to make my conclusions. Like when I talk about Joe Biden continuing Trump's policies, like he literally gave us evidence that he was going to do that, and that's what I talk about.
I see a good question. J7 Politics. What's it gonna take for
I just saw
as
that.
angry as Jimmy Dore and do something?
What it's gonna take for everyone to get as angry as Jimmy Dore and do something? That's a really hard question to answer. Just because I would think when you go through personal trauma, that should be enough to radicalize you. But for some reason, it's not for a lot of people. Like you hear the movement. The Force to Vote town hall yesterday, and they weren't sharing their stories, and then they shared a story, and then they like, that's how I got radicalized. Me personally, I get radicalized hearing their stories. I mean, my grandpa may still be alive today if he visited the doctor. Because black people, our quality of life is lower. The amount, our life expectancy, I always struggle saying that word, is lower than anyone else because we're less likely to visit a doctor. And throughout the course of my life, I constantly hear stories of people getting sick because they couldn't go to the doctor and couldn't get diagnosed in time. So that's what to me, I'm looking at their stories. I'm hearing what Savage Joy had to go through, a lot of other people had to go through, and I go through my own personal tragedy. I know people go through medical debt right now, but I'm like, I haven't even got the worst of it, and I'm already radicalized. So if you're someone who went through medical debt, went through the ringer, like the worst of the worst, and you still not for like Forced to Vote and for Medicare for All, I don't know what it's gonna take. I honestly don't. I don't get Americans. Americans are massive bootleggers. I'm American, but I don't relate to American culture almost at all. That's why I'm just a political martial art nerd. I don't like pop culture. I don't really watch pop culture. It's just combat sports and Politics, video games. I like. Other than that, I'm not into American culture at all. Cause I legitimately don't get it. I don't like rampant materialism, um, like bling bling culture. Like I love rap, but I never liked that. I've never been into that. Like even when I was a kid, like even in my dumb lib days, I was a socialist, but I just couldn't explain to you what I was. Cause I'll see that stuff I'm like, man, I don't give a fuck about people showing off their goddamn shoes. Why do people? I don't give a fuck about shoes. I don't care about none of this shit that you guys care about. I don't care about rims. I don't care about bling bling. I always been that way. So I was like, I always been like that. Remind me, when you guys see that interview with Bernie Sanders, and someone was talking about how much. I don't remember who did it, but they were talking about, and they asked him about shoes. I think it was one of the black shows he was interviewing with, and they were asking about his reaction. They were expecting that Bernie was like go long laugh with it. They told him how much this shoe cost. Like one shoe cost like $3,000, and Bernie wasn't. He didn't laugh. He was like, "What?" He like, I don't. He like, I'm not. Do you know what I'm talking about, RJ? I don't know if you saw that clip. It was a long time ago where he was like, "Why would anyone do like?" He was just disgusted, and they like kind of ended that joke immediately because Bernie was like, "I don't get the punchline. This is stupid." I've always been that way. I'm weird. Like I want people to understand. I'm not. I don't lie about who I am. I'm a political and martial art nerd. That's who I am. I don't know how I got on that tangent. Oh yeah, because I don't get why Americans aren't calling for revolutionaries. I don't get it.
Mostly because revolution is, well, there's two problems with revolution. One, it's scary, and two, it takes work. And we as Americans, we don't like doing either. And it's completely antithetical to how we were founded as a country. And so I think it really started with the boomer generation. You know, they're all about
I let you rant. I let you rant for a second. I'm on your direction real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so I think what's wrong with it is like this sense of like inclusion and inclusivity where like people are being less revolutionary because they believe it'll mess up their own apple cart without realizing that hey, by being revolutionary, by pushing the establishment to do something they don't want to do, it actually makes them get stuff that they want. You know, playing this inside game of being nice to your superiors, especially to your politicians, isn't working and it will never work. What do you think, Sienna?
Huh?
So
Sorry,
what
I
do
was
you
just
think?
reading the chat. What do I think about what? I was reading the chat.
Yeah, like what do you think of like some Americans not being as revolutionary? You know, are more like acceptable of, you know, playing the game and waiting it out. Like what do you think?
Or what do I know that there's always going to be Americans who are play like I know liberals, you know, the brunch liberals, they don't really care about anything. They just want to go to brunch and stop caring about all of our issues that we got going on. Like there's always going to be those people who just don't care, and for to them it's going to be a thing with, with them. It's like cool, you don't care about our issues? Cool, you go do your thing while we actually care about people and try to do our best to help, you know, our fellow Americans or they
And
go
you
back to lunch.
and yeah, I think there's a debate in the left right now that's going on. So I was actually tweeting with one of my favorite tweet followers, Erica the White Trash Socialist, and one of her tweets she put on was like, "Hey, you know, some of you leftists are like pressuring her to force the vote. Well, you're not realizing that she's doing grassroots organizing, getting people in a Republican district to be for Medicare for all and some of our leftist policies." And one of the tweets I put out saying, "Hey, every person that's in the left community is either electoral politics leftist that loves to talk about politics and playing the political game, and then there's some leftists who do grassroots organizing, whether it's donating to food banks, getting people engaged in the political process, and working with grassroots organizations. Like, there's no set way to do this. Pick a lane that you want to engage in and shut the fuck up. Basically, that's basically what we agreed on with. Like, we
Yeah.
can't hear you, Nick, but I saw you agreed.
Oh yeah, thank God I caught that.
Seems
I
like
don't have my
Nick's
mic
got
muted.
Discord
Nick's,
issue.
Nick's your volume's like off.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
we
Yeah,
know
no. I just fixed my
You're
mute.
back.
You guys can hear me now. Someone posted. I lost a comment. Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. He pretty much what he doing. He's mocking Joe Biden. He like, good luck with that, Jack. Malarkey. People don't want a handout. They just want a government to understand. And that Joe Biden before he went out and pushed for $600. And that Joe Biden before he begged for money on his election. Despite the fact there's a middle of a pandemic, he literally tweeted about how Americans don't want a handout. Once again, covering his right wing talking points he's been saying all year. That's a Republican talking point, by the way. Meanwhile, while he said people don't like handouts, he literally asked for a handout. Well, he didn't need it. You guys already won. You already get money to do the transition. So they were literally scamming people. They were literally grifting people. Let me get to some of the other comments. I'm like my comments are almost getting deleted. I'm so behind.
Social chat dragon meows saying we're trained not to be revolutionary, which is true. From since a young age, we're always taught just accept that this is the way things are and that things are never gonna change. But then we grow up and we're just we're gonna change shit. We don't care.
Yeah, Americans' ability to accept horrible as their ability to accept bad as the new normal is gonna kill us all. Shit get bad, and Americans are like, damn, I guess that's how it is now. I guess we don't make as much as our parents used to do. Damn, we lock up 25% of the world's prison. We lock up 25% of the world's prison population. Oh damn, it's kind of a shame that we do that. Oh, we spend this much money on war.
That's what you're taught.
Yeah, we spend this much money on war. Damn, unfortunately, I guess this is how it is. Americans are deeply bootlickers. I can't be part of that. I literally can never be a part of that. That's why I do what I do.
That's how we're raised.
Exactly. My man, Carlos. I just saw his comment now where he said, "Yeah, I did." That's all good because when he long streams, I always tell people you don't have to be on the whole time. I'll just go however long I feel like going. Like today, I already knew I was gonna do a little bit longer stream as long as everything was operating good. But you just see Carlos much more often. I'm glad I met this guy. I'll just talk to him on Twitter. He's a lot more knowledgeable about this, and he's gonna help me out on my channel a lot. So we literally just met, but if you're watching my channel now, expect to see a good increase of production value because he's really knowledgeable. And not only does he have a lot of foreign policy expertise, as you guys heard, he's gonna help make my channel look a lot more professional. So I'm looking forward to continue to work with Carlos. You guys are gonna see him a lot on this show. Sorry if I'm missing y'all comments. I'm barely hitting them before deletion. The comrade Kenny says sunk cost fallacy gets people all the time because their ego get involved. He talking about Ben. So I see you. I see that you guys were talking about Ben Dixon for a while I was doing my little spill. Once again, my thing is you talk about whatever you gonna talk about, but you guys see I don't tweet about Ben a lot on my feed because why I give him that kind of energy? I kind of miss being a small account sometimes. I like shit posting a lot, but now I have my following. Now I'm like, all right, I gotta make sure I direct my anger directly where I want it to be at. So I don't like giving people like Ben, Vosh, and all these people too much on my headspace. It's it. It's over. We know who you are now. But don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you guys not to talk about it. Talk about whatever you're passionate about. But that's the reason why you haven't heard me talk about him and a lot of other leftist drama a lot on my stream. But yeah, it's still important to talk about because exposing fake people in our movement is important. Don't get me wrong though.
I would say think before you tweet. Don't come across as a way that's not politically correct in terms of strategy or fact, and don't even post about a smear because that's too sore to give them to stab you with. So just be careful how you tweet.
Yeah, absolutely. My thing is I never would shoot down the possibility of running for office. I did strongly consider it at one point. I lost a lot of faith in electoral politics this year. I mean, when I was canvassing with Bernie, I had people literally saying that you should run, and that's when I was tweeting about it. Because that's when I was strongly considering it, but I was man, what the fucking point now? But I never will rule it out. I've been talking to a lot of great people who help me out when it comes to running, but... Oh yeah, my point was, I almost forgot what my point was. My point originally was, dude, I tweeted so much stuff. I would literally had to hire someone to delete all my tweets, but people said that's part of my charm. I mean, my thing is, I'm pretty sure my constituents wouldn't give a damn about what I tweet. I think they care more about having health care and the challenges of their lives, increasing their wages, than what I care about on Twitter. But trust me, the liberals, they will attack me for my shit posts I make. I read some of the comments here about you guys saying about Ben. Ben was very braggadocious. I think I'm saying that right. About the money his media empire was building as well. Big turn off for me. I didn't watch a ton of his content.
I did.
But
I watched some of his content during the summer. The summer, I listened to him a lot.
Yeah, he was really good when he came to defund the police at the time and find the police state. But If I say it's just heartbreaking to see him betray our movement the way he has, but you can tell by the fact that he was bragging about his money, like C-Dub said, that way he always was there for. And my position is very clear. I mean, I live a very low cost of living. I used to be in sales. That's how you survive in sales, is having a low cost of living. I literally just need just enough to pay my bills. Like, I don't need to be balling. I don't need a fucking giant house. I told you guys I'm a socialist at heart. I don't care. Like, I'm from day, even when I was a dumb, I'm like, bro, I literally just need enough so I don't have to fucking work for another motherfucker. Like, I want money. Just money to me is just a transition to freedom. Like, I don't care about anything else. So that's why I want to be a citizen journalist. That's why I'm not gonna sell out, because I'm like, bro, I don't care about money. Like, money don't mean fucking shit to me. I like, honestly, to my core, and anyone I know kind of had the same mindset. And honestly, to my core, I care about life experience. Like, what I'm like, for example, money is just for freedom. So if I have money, that means I'm not working for a motherfucker. I have more time to do stuff I enjoy, which means my quality of life would be higher. That's all I need. That's all I care about. I don't care about having a fucking big house. I don't care about having fancy cars. It's stupid to me. Once again, even I always had to believe, but even when I was a dumb lib, I couldn't tell you at the time, but I always was a socialist at heart. Sandra, let's see what you saying, Sandra. I would like a discussion on sexual assault and domestic abuse. I solidly am abolished across the board, so now let's discuss. My Warren District Progressive City Council defended our police because, damn, then the comment got deleted. But I know what you're saying. You want to have, like I said, I'm like barely getting any comments before they get deleted. I got a lot of knowledge about sexual assault and domestic abuse just because a lot of the feminists I talked to, and one of my friends I met in South Carolina, I remember I made a tweet at the time. She was telling me about the police corruption in South Carolina, and she was explaining how in South Carolina and a lot of these conservative red states, like, domestic violence is essentially legalized. Once again, this is kind of stuff, if you are in this community, and then she said it's a big problem. She actually fought against this as an activist for a long time. Hey, Meganair's back. Welcome back. How can you know this and not be for defund the police? But anyway, that's a whole, I don't want to get back into that rant. But cops play a big role in making domestic violence victims harder for them to come forward. And there have been studies shows that, once again, a very conservative study, by the way, 40% of cops admitted to committing domestic assault and domestic abuse. But I don't want to speak on behalf of women issue without a woman being here. So I know a lot of good friends who can have this conversation with me. I would love to have that conversation with them instead of just two guys here, me and RJ, just ranting about this. So just know I strongly stand in solidarity with women and all their issues. That's why I'm constantly tweeting about Tara Reid. I told y'all I'm not gonna speak about Tara Reid, and that's why I couldn't vote for Joe Biden. I didn't vote for Joe Biden because I stand in solidarity with women. I'm not gonna vote for a fucking rapist. That's just one. He got 8 women who complained about him. By the way, 8 women with complaints about Joe Biden. So if you vote for him, that's on your conscience. That's on your conscience, I guess. Let's see. So that's my. I would actually love to have my friend Becky on the show where she can explain this, but I talked to so many. Oh yeah, my point. I didn't finish my story. Becky told me that not only was domestic abuse pretty much legalized in South Carolina, but she said she don't know one girl in her life that wasn't sexually assaulted or raped. She told me that, and I was like, what? Like, as a guy, you don't really understand how this stuff. I was like, well, I talked to her, and I made a tweet. I'm like, yo, my friend Becky told me that she don't know one girl that wasn't sexually assaulted or raped. And then that thread was amazing. I wonder if I can find it and link it for you guys. But then literally all my female mutuals were saying, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing for me too. I don't know anyone who haven't been assaulted, raped, or something like that. And then if you haven't, you're lucky. I'm like, damn, this is the level of rape culture that, like, when you hear people talk about, I heard it talk about, and I'm like, okay, that's just something that they want to promote. But I'm like, when you actually talk to women, I'm like, fuck, like what? My cousin was almost abducted. Like, she was part of that statistic as well. I have a cousin who she's lucky she got away. She probably would have been one of the women who was human trafficked by Epstein. She didn't get away. I don't want to blow her story out, but I had a cousin who was abducted who got away. Followed him, jumped out of the car, ran halfway naked home. So I'm part of that statistic too. I know someone who's been assaulted and raped, and yet people still want to deny that rape culture is a thing. And back in my young live days, I remember someone mentioned rape culture to me. I'm like, rape culture? What? You mean like a culture of people getting raped? What? That don't make no sense to me. But once again, that's me as a dumb lib. Now me with life experience, me talking to people, I'm like, oh yeah, not only is rape culture a thing, It's massively understated. Massively understated. Anything you want to chime in on there before I move on to my next question? Sorry, I'm just ranting here. Let's see. Like that guy that was on the stream a while back who said Trump won the election. Oh, I think you're talking about copy. You talking about pasta on Convo Couch. I don't understand why people ruin their credibility saying stupid shit like that. Because I remember I was on his stream and we had a little. There was during the movement. I think that was during the Movement of People Party convention, and I was on his stream, and he was asking me who I think the lesser of two evils, and he was arguing that Trump was the lesser of two evils of Biden. My boy Pat agreed with him. I'm like, I'm not mad at you for coming with that conclusion, but you guys misunderstood my political assessment. My political assessment isn't that Trump is better than Democrats. It's that Democrats are just like Trump. So I don't know why there's some people on the left that just take these positions that don't make no sense to me. I don't know why anyone would take it on their side to argue that Trump is the lesser of two evil. I don't know why anyone would take it upon them to argue that this election was rigged. You know my stance on election rigging and the whole Trump saying this election fraudulent? You lost by 8 million votes, fuckface. Are you saying that 8 million votes is the reason why you lost? If that's not your argument, which it wasn't, I don't want to hear it because as someone who really believes in democracy, I think whoever win the popular vote should win. And people are like, oh, we are technically a republic. Oh, we had an electoral college for the. I'm like, okay, I don't agree. That's part of the American bootlicker culture. They're like, oh, well, this is how things are, so this is how it must be. It must always be this way. I'm like, okay, this is how it is. This is how we should make our country better. So when it comes to MAGA, I don't want to hear shit about you guys saying this election was stolen from you because you lost by 8 million votes. It's over.
I get what you're saying, but you're saying it's something factual. You know, politics isn't about fact; it's about perception. And so, if you look back in 2016, RussiaGate, people were saying, "Well, Trump didn't necessarily win. You know, Russia helped." So they're saying that Trump outright didn't win, and what they're doing now is the revenge of RussiaGate.
Yeah, it's saying the same thing. Yeah, that's a great point, man. They do the same thing.
Yeah, so it's.
So it's funny because right wingers they rightfully mocked liberals for RussiaGate. Then what they're doing is honestly, well, I don't know if I would say it worse. Like well, actually no, I think it is worse because I like the meltdown from MAGA regarding this election is way worse than I see RussiaGate. And I can get in debate with people like I didn't see liberals literally trying to overturn the election because of RussiaGate. Do you see? Am I missing something? You guys know I have literally no love lost for liberals. I'll never defend liberals ever. But I try to be objective when I talk about politics. And me being objective, the meltdown from the right this time from Trump losing has been way worse than the meltdown from liberals when it comes to when Hillary lost. And I'm just laughing at them. I'm like, you guys laughed at. I laughed at Democrats when they was making up their excuse for Hillary loss. The same way I'm gonna laugh at Trump for them making an excuse. So my thing when it comes to leftists who promote this conspiracy theory for Trump, I'm like, if you were one of the people who laughed at Democrats for RussiaGate, but you're not laughing at MAGA for what they're doing right now, what are you doing? You're not being objective. You're being ridiculous.
I think the people who aren't laughing is because if you look at it, short term you're right. Okay, but long term, RussiaGate is going to affect us even more because RussiaGate.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
It's being used against leftists. I mean, Jimmy has been saying that since 2016. Many of our others like Kitty Halper, Aaron Matei, they've all been saying RussiaGate is going to be used against us. And now,
I agree. Look
what the establishment is saying. They're saying, hey, progressives, if you don't fall in line, you know, Trump could come back and they're going to bring this whole Russia thing back up. MAGA, they meltdown. Everyone across the country knows bullshit, so it's not going to affect leftists. So to say that, you know, the MAGA meltdown versus RussiaGate, that it's worse, I have to disagree because RussiaGate has an institutional force behind it in terms of quashing the left. MAGA is just something on Twitter you laugh about. So that's kind of my pushback on that.
Yeah, I'm about to say I don't disagree with anything what you're saying. I'm talking about like the initial reaction. I mean, because when I say the establishment reaction on Dems, I think RussiaGate was something long cooked up and long in the making. It just gave them a reason to span on the power of the state. So I think that was going to happen no matter what. But yeah, I'm not going to put back on you on that because both of their reactions has been horrible. I was just quantifying what I think is like worse because we know the long-term effects of RussiaGate. I don't know what we don't know what the long term effects of this is gonna be. Like, what if this actually like ramps up the amount of white terrorists? Like, we already seeing the rise of white terrorism. So I'm not pushing back on you or anything because I can see why you say Russiagate worked, but we don't know the long term consequences of this right now. Either way, my initial point was no matter what you look at either party, Democrat or Republican, they do the same shit. Democrats denied losing because of Russia in 2016. And Trump people deny they lost because whatever the fuck they say. That's just some sort of massive. The system is rigged in y'all favor. You guys realize that, right? Once again, I got no love for liberals, but you guys literally get a head start because of Electoral College. So I don't want to hear shit. I don't want. If you're not for, like, for example, the MAGA people who complain about the election fraudulence, they were like, "Oh, our elections are broken." Okay, what do you want to do to fix it? Do you think we should have popular vote? Do you think we should get rid of the Electoral College? No, I think Trump should win. Bro, you saying the election broken, but you're not proposing actual any solutions that will stop that from happening. So you're just being a baby. That's all that is.
Yeah, I mean.
Here, go ahead, talk. I'm gonna try to get Sunny Con for they get some more get deleted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. Like, if you look at the reaction to Russiagate after Donald Trump won, you used like the women's marches and stuff, which was nice initially, but you had some bad faith actors in there who made it about Donald Trump and not the actual issues that women across the world, suffer from. And so if you compare that with, the MAGA outburst, I mean, it's just crazy how many bad faith actors come in to ruin true movements that want to change and then make it about a political figure you hate.
Yeah, I say on Twitter, we are surrounded by deeply unserious people. Someone put this Joe Biden tweet in the chat. I don't know what it was getting at yet, but let's see what it says. It says we're just over 20 days until Inauguration Day. There's never been a better time to stock up on Biden inaugural gear. I know what gear this tweet is. Talk about tone deaf, and I made that tweet I think 2 days ago. Where I was like, bro, I literally told people like, look at Joe Biden's Twitter feed. Like, I literally like, bro, just look at it. It is trash. Like, it's a deeply unserious feed where they don't talk about homelessness crisis. They're not talking about the 2K COVID relief checks. They're not talking about anything of importance. Like, anything on his page is platitudes, mask mandates, like all this stupid shit that had nothing to do with our lives. So I did see this tweet. I mean, do this really even need a comment? Because how tone deaf do you gotta be to try to sell merch in a pandemic economic collapse where you guys are not even supporting 2K checks? I mean, I'm not getting to that. Let me get some of the comments. But I mean, the rant is self-explanatory here, right? Like why this is a dumb tweet. Like it's I mean, I don't understand how like this got like the fucked up thing is actually this is less than another one. Actually, is less than most. I guess even liberals realize this is stupid because this only got 14,000 likes. I read one of the horrible tweets on my last stream, and I broke down why it was a horrible tweet, and I went on a long rant why. And then the tweet got 100,000 likes. Like that tweet that I ripped to shreds had 100,000. So there are liberals that are watching these tweets like, damn, Joe Biden's killing the game. How do we bridge this gap? How the fuck? The only way we bridge this gap is by radicalizing them as we go. Because I do get liberals and people that reach out to me and said they used to be liberals and then they changed their mind. So the people who think we got to work with these people there, I think they have the wrong strategy. The only way we can't engage these motherfuckers. We just got to forcefully change their mind or wait till the boomers die out. Because if you're actually liking these tweets by Joe Biden, you're almost too far gone. Like I almost want to put that label on you in terms of a lib, but I've been reached out by so many people. I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up people, but I've never been that far gone to the point where like even when I was a lib, I wouldn't like actively like Obama's tweets on Facebook and Twitter. Like I've never been that point where I was like propping him up on social media. That's why I made that tweet earlier today. Where I was like, bro, I literally when I look at my mentions of liberals going after me for going to politics, I'm like, bro, I don't know anyone like this in my real life. Like who spends time actually defending, like you log on twitter.com to defend politicians in the ruling class? What? That doesn't make any, like I can't remember. I don't know anyone who does that in my real life. I don't know anyone. Like I want a few people who actually use like Twitter and stuff like that, but to think that someone that will actually spend their time to defend politicians makes no sense to me. Holy shit, it makes no sense to me. So thank you for sharing that tweet. That was kind of funny to look at that again. I saw it when it happened. Social MMA. Do you agree with the fight at night pick for the UFC? That was Joanna versus Zhang Weili. I have a hard time saying her name. Dude, this year has so many banging fights. Despite what's going on for COVID, it'll be hard to put my finger, because the last flyweight title fight between David Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, I didn't have a lot of expectations for that fight, but I saw that fight, I'm like, fuck. I'm all for David Figueiredo now. I hope I'm saying his name right. But he's a savage. Always go forward. I thought he would kind of steamroll Brandon Moreno, but Brandon Moreno had the old school Mexican boxing heart. Like, he has that Mexican boxing style where he got really good chin, always go forward. The combination of David Figueiredo always putting pressure on people, and then you have the Mexican style fighter. That fight was amazing, and I'm like kicking myself because I'm like forgetting some other fights. But there are so many fights I watched this year, and I'm like, damn. The actual quality of the fights are getting so good now in the UFC, because back in the day you had people like Anderson Silva, GSP. You had all these people that was so much better than the competition. Now you're seeing like the skill gap decrease. You still have people who are amazing and people who are elite, but you're seeing a lot more of the people who can hang with the elite. So we're seeing amazing fights. Amazing fights. I need to pull a list of UFC fights before I actually... Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do a breakdown of what I think is fight of the year. But I'm just thinking about all the good fights I see this year, and it's hard to disagree with JJ versus Zhang Weili. You can't say the fight is better than that. But there are a lot of good ones. The first one that came to mind was the one I saw recently between Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. But yeah, that's my. Maybe I'll talk about MMA more once maybe I should. But most people follow me for my political content. I can talk about martial arts all day. I've been really into Muay Thai and boxing recently because the UFC. I think the UFC falling off the last few years because it's been managed to the ground. Like my years, I was the most into the MMA was, I say, during the Anderson Silva GSP era, like the late 2000s to like 2012. Anyone I know, I watch every single card. I can break down every single fighter. That was my favorite era. Like, that was my favorite era when Anderson Silva, GSP, Cain Velasquez. That you had the Lesnar era at the time, which was crazy. The era of BJ Penn, like that was the year. That was the rise of John Jones, the Machida era. That when Chuck Liddell was getting into his retirement. Rampage was a big fighter. Those are some of my favorite years of MMA. Now, recently, just because of the way the UFC has been managed, I was not really that much into it like I used to be. I love watching Muay Thai and a lot of other combat sports on top of the UFC. So that's my little take on that. I don't talk about combat sports a lot, so but I am a martial art nerd, and I'm super passionate about that kind of stuff. The Leftist Mom, one of my good friends on Twitter. I'm glad to see you watching. It's disgusting how accurate it is. I was assault, and I told you I was just complaining and a bad date. So I think that's Leftist Mom sharing her story that breaks my heart. It really does. Like, as a guy, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I enjoy sex because women are enjoying it. Like, given, so I don't want to get X-rated, but but the art of pleasing a woman is what makes sex enjoyable. Like, if you just want to get off, why just jack off? Like, just jack off at the end of the day if you want to get off. But the idea of just dominating the girl and making her like hurting her like that give me a reverse bone. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, to the very core of my being, it doesn't make sense, because the act of making love is the fact that you guys are literally making love. Like, there's a connection there. Like, hearing her moan, knowing that she's enjoying it. Once again, I don't want to get X-rated. That's not my show about. But that's what makes sex special. And so I don't, like, to my core as a man, it doesn't make sense that you want to traumatize a girl for the rest of her life. And at the end of the day, what you're doing is just jacking off. But you use something else different. Like, that's what it is.
The key is ask questions.
That shit doesn't make sense to me. Like, like I said, that's my perspective. I don't know. Maybe there's, hopefully the feelings like watching is like, damn, what the fuck you talking about? But as a guy, that's my perspective. I'm like, dude, I just don't understand it. It doesn't make. That's why I said when I first heard rape culture, it didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, what? Like, why would there be a culture of dudes raping people? Apparently, that's a thing. That's a goddamn thing. It doesn't make sense to me.
I feel like the libs are gonna take like 15 seconds of everything you just said and
Yeah.
get you banned on Twitter for a second time.
luckily, I'm not too big. Luckily, I don't get a ton of hate. Like, I'm actually surprised. I mean, I got a few people in the comment that start trolling, just causing ruckus on my stream, and I was like, dude, I'm actually surprised that doesn't happen more often. Like, honestly, I'm honestly surprised that doesn't happen more often. Jules J. This is a new name. I'm not well versed in Marxist, socialist, communist theory or knowledge in general, but how plausible is it, especially in a global economy? So you're just talking about socialism and communism, and how we can apply that in the real world right now. My thing is, I tell people on my page, I don't focus too much on theory because I got life experience. But even if you look at the theory of Marxism, the idea of Marxism and socialism, that's a bridge towards communism. And that's why I don't actively call myself a communist, but that's why I don't cut the Overton window to my left. Because how are you going to implement communism without capitalism even being crushed, without even being destroyed yet? So, because Marx even said that. He said socialism is a bridge to communism. So, that's to answer. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll push the policy I support. And I hope communists don't get mad at me for saying that, because I put the policy I support because that's the, if we have any problems from there, that will lead us to communism. You know what I mean? So hopefully that answered that question. Most Americans are conditioned into two-party thinking. So either one is bad or the other one is bad, but tell them both of them are bad, break their brains until they can unlearn that shit. Yep. That's my negative mentions in a nutshell. People cannot believe that a black guy does not like the Democratic Party. And then what's the assumption? The assumption is, what, you some sort of black Republican? No, fuck both of them. Then when you say that, they're like, oh, they literally can't handle that. They lose interest or they lash out. Those are my experience. They either lash out or they like, oh, you're not relevant. Fuck off. It's never like, why don't you like both parties? Like, just like I said, corporate media have broken the brains of the American people in an unbelievable way. JJ AZ said, libs use Russia as an excuse for losing, not overturning election. Pretty solid. I think that was just a comment backing up what we were saying earlier. That's how behind on the comments I am. So if you left a comment, I ain't got to it, don't be disheartened. I'm still getting used to the more comments that I'm getting on here. One of these days I will have to do a super chat or something like that. So I can make sure I don't miss those. Let's see if I can catch the first part of that comment. Cause I see someone said that will require intelligence. I don't know. I think you're just probably replying to what someone said. Newgrass said libs and Republicans aren't pushing for hand-marked paper ballots with audits. Damn, I love this comment, which is the only way to prove election fraud. Voting machines make audits impossible. That's a great comment, because that literally back to what we were saying earlier. I said they're not very serious about this. They're just partisan clowns. Because, so, for example, we talking about when hand-marked paper ballots. I remember Tosi introduced that bill because she was like, okay, you guys think Russia is meddling with our election? Let's do this. Let's do the hand-marked bills. And then no one backed it. Once again, people hate Tosi on the left. I get it. But I'm one of the people that I'm objective when it comes to politics. So I'll give you credit when you do something good. Like, I give Tosi credit when she voted against the NDAA. But her and Rashida are one of the two people who voted against the COVID relief package in the House. So even if you hate Tosi, how can you not give her credit for that? That's not my style of politics. I'll try to be as objective as possible. So I'm not a big Tosi person, but I'll give her credit because she did introduce the bill to introduce hand-marked ballots. None of the Democrats supported it. And then they smeared her as a Russian bot. How that makes sense? They say Tosi is a Russian bot, but Tosi introduced a bill that would end the problem that you guys are complaining about. They are deeply unserious people. So if you're watching this, that's what I implore you to do. I don't stand politicians. But if you are doing nothing, what's the best way for me to phrase this? 'Cause, 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 you gotta at least acknowledge when someone does the right thing, right? You can't just assume people are just all evil and all bad. So if you got your criticism of Tulsi, you gotta at least acknowledge that she introduced multiple legislation to end the Patriot Act, that she has a great criminal justice plan, but she also has horrible turf trans bills. She repeat right wing Republican talking points. You gotta take with the good and the bad. OD Gamer talking about Joe Biden's Twitter. I think a lot of those likes are bots. Yeah, when they did the audit on the bots, I think like 50%. When you look at Biden and them, Trump is around the same. Some of the highest ones around like 60%. And then guess who was the lowest? Like Bernie had by far, when they did the numbers, by far the lowest amount of Twitter bots to follow him. Makes sense because he had a real movement. But even if you take the bots out, what 50%? That tweet I was talking about earlier had 100,000 likes. So take 60% of that away because you assume those bots. That's still 40,000 people like that shitty tweet. That's still a lot of people. So I do agree with your comment there, but we still got to get in perspective. That's way too many people liking that was. Yeah, Hersey, this is when I was talking about UFC. The whole UFC 256 was lit. Yeah, I love that car. I'm super happy I caught that one. I don't remember I don't remember them by number, but I think I know what card you're talking about. UFC 256. I'm trying to see so I can get a reminder. Yeah, you talking about the card I was talking about? Cause that when Tony Ferguson fought Dubronx Oliveira, and I've been a giant fan of Tony Ferguson. Giant fan. I've been watching his run, and I was very, very upset. Very, very upset that he was passed on the title for as long as he has. But you see Dubronx hit that next level because Dubronx, he was one of those people, the first generation that hit the UFC at a young age. He hit the UFC at like age 19. He had a submission record now because he has so many fights. He had his ups and downs, but his strength of schedule was insane from day one. From day one, he was fighting killers, fighting absolute killers. So he had some losses on his record. But now he had like what, 8-9 fight win streak. He got the submission record now. We literally seen him grown in the UFC. And when I was commentating on that fight with my friends, when he defeated Tony Ferguson, I still think Tony Ferguson is a monster. But when you look at Dubronx's last few fights, his striking, okay, he always was a submission expert, but his striking was incredible. That's him training for years on that. So now his striking is incredible, and now he's one of the most dangerous people on the ground. Now, when I was saying after that fight, I was really heartbroken that Khabib retired because I never gave Conor any chance against Khabib. I literally said Ferguson was the one guy I would pick against Khabib. I gave Gaethje no chance. I gave Poirier no chance. But I say this straight up, stylistically, Dubronx would give Khabib a hell of a fight. I would pick Dubronx in that situation because Dubronx got amazing striking. And a ground game we never seen in the UFC. Submission record. His ground game against Ferguson, who was amazing on the ground, he dominated him on the ground. It was just incredible. So I seen Dubronx's career from the very first time he hit the UFC. I remember when he was upsetted, when he was the next big young thing, when he was submitted by Jim Miller. I remember that upset because people thought he was young, and then he was submitted by Miller. When he was supposed to be a submission expert, people lost hype on him. But I was like, no, dude, he's still young. Now I'm super happy that he's a monster that he is now. Once again, I got to stop. I can talk about combat sports all day.
I'm literally learning. I'm just sitting
here
just learning.
Yeah, dude, I can literally have a whole nother podcast on that, but maybe that'd be part of my expansion this year. Because I have people ask me to talk about that before, about that why I changed back in when I had my first Twitter name, FighTime. That's back when I used to coach and train. That one my Twitter account, I only was active as of 2018, but my Twitter account was made in 2011 because I made that back just so I can follow UFC. So maybe one day I can expand. I want to fight pro this year, so you guys see some crazy thing. And then I see you guys conversating. I love when I see you guys conversating. That one lady shit lib who called you a white Republican pissed me off. Dude, I love. Let's see if I can find the tweet since you brought it up. I'm gonna tweet about it. I guess I can do a little. Let me do a little mini segment on this. I tweet out. I'm talking about it. Damn. No one complained about me tweeting my stream out so far. I mean, I don't know nothing fucking wrong with advertising. Y'all need to watch my stream. They still don't find it. There it is. Damn. So, damn that tweet calling her out is doing pretty well. Her ratio is insanity. I want. Hopefully she don't delete the tweet. I want to see how bad it gets. Like I'll actually give her mad props if she don't delete this tweet.
People like her don't delete tweets.
Dude, I'll literally be like, all right, I'll give you a little props for not deleting that. I hate when they delete. I'm like, man, I want to see how bad that ratio can get. I was honestly shocked when I saw how bad it was, but on like an hour and so in. That's why I screenshot it. Talking about, this is my last tweet I'll make because I usually want to keep these around 3. I think we can do about 3 hours, 3:15. Talking about the white lib racism I experienced on this app and why I love exposing them. So I wasn't planning on doing that segment, but since you brought it up, why not? Because that tweet is doing pretty well. I tweet the Twitch version of it. Actually, I tweet both. No, I just tweet the Twitch one. So one of my favorite things about my account is exposing something that young black people and young black leftists can attest to. Like this is the kind of stuff you would tell people and they wouldn't believe you. When I would say stuff that I experienced, when I say I experienced more racism from the upper bourgeoisie liberal class instead of the hardcore redneck, people be like, what? That doesn't make no sense. Dude, trust me. I used to sell cars, bro. I used to be around these upper class, bourgeoisie, liberal-minded people. They are the most condescending, racist people in our country. I mean, you got the hardcore racists who are unapologetic about it, but they will honestly just leave you alone because their mindset is, I don't want anything to do with you. Like it's literally that simple. I don't want anything to do with you. So they actually, from my experience, obviously they're hate crime and stuff, but for the most part, they will actually kind of leave you alone. The white liberal class, they will pretend they're your friend, fight against your interests, and do shit like Amy Cooper. They will call the cops on your ass. They will say the low-key super racist shit. They will say stuff like, damn, nigga, you super articulate. The Joe Biden, what you said about Barack Obama. This is the kind of stuff they will do. Like there's a lot of subtle racism you get. So I'll call that shit out all the time. And when you are a black person and you are going against the political interest, whoo, that's when you get the worst. Because liberals, they have the belief that black people owe them something because the Democratic Party is tolerant of our presence. I literally seen people say this. I think one of them got ratioed. One of the white libs like, how can black people vote against Democrats when we gave them voting rights? And the thing is, she typed that, and she didn't even know why what she said was bad. She didn't know why that was even problematic to say that. Because you guys think that we owe you political allegiance because of one thing you did, despite the horrible conditions you leave our neighborhoods and our cities in? Nick, have you ever been DM slurs? Hell yeah. 100%. So when I get exposed, now let me, my people who watching this stream who didn't follow my Twitter, they ain't seen it. This is the tweet that happened today. Like people, one of the comments on here, I don't know if I can find it, but someone was like, damn, how many times did you constantly showing stuff like this? Like, yeah, one of my favorite things about my account is I finally can expose this shit that people don't know exists. Like even white progressives who are dope, who are on my side, they don't know how bad it is because they are white. They get smeared as just racist and they get cast aside. But meanwhile, when you have a black leftist who goes against the Democratic Party, they immediately assume that you're a bad fake actor, that you're dumb, you have malicious intent, etc., etc. They always attack who you are. And another thing that liberals do is black erasure. This is why what Joe Biden said when he was like, you're not black. If you don't support me, you're not black. That's extremely painful because it gave these white liberals permission to steal blackness away from people who don't politically support them. Now, ever since Joe Biden said that, you see liberal consistent continue to say that. If you're not supportive of the Democratic Party, you're not black. You're not black. And that's what she is saying here. Am I wrong? That's what she's saying here, and this is what they always say here when they say these tweets. Now let's go to it. This is the tweet I made earlier that blew up. You see, that got like 3.7K in 3 hours. God knows where it's at right now. This is why I was there 7 on this while talking about how. Go ahead. You're not gonna sell to me the idea that the Georgia Senate races are important when you got the Senate Democrats literally sign with Mitch McConnell when it comes to your survival checks. And liberals are really, really upset with me at this because liberals are going after me for making this tweet, and this was just one of them, the one I wanted to highlight. Look at that ratio. This is what 4 hours ago. If she ain't deleted the tweet, God knows what it is now. She said, "Well, aren't you the little puppet account? You tick all the boxes. What boxes? I have zero doubt you're a white Republican." They really believe this. They really believe this. They really cannot possibly conceive the idea that black people could be upset with the Democratic Party. The same Democratic Party that sponsored the crime bill, the same Democratic Party that overseed a massive transfer of wealth under the Obama administration, the tanking of black wealth. The same administration that literally was busting heads of Ferguson protesters. They can't understand why black people who started the Black Lives Matter movement under Barack Obama will be. Oh, I didn't show y'all the ratio on the screen. Let me lower. I did not notice that. Can y'all see that? I don't know if I can put it lower. Damn, I didn't cut off. Well, it cut off, but let me see if I can show the actual ratio for you guys. Move that up. There it is. There it is. Look at that ratio. This is like what? This was like 4 hours ago when I actually made the screenshot. So yeah, my homies came and got my back because this is the racism I always exposed. They believe black people owe them something. That's the core belief that will lead you to say something like this. This is why they want to erase the identity of people who don't fall in line, because you're not black if you don't support the Democratic Party. And then why I love my account, because I'm going to continue to expose these racist white libs. It's endless. It's endless with these people. So that'd be my little short segment. Let me get to some of these comments. We're about 3 hours in. And then we can get ready to wrap up. This was a fun episode today. I envy me. I'm pretty sure this is when I was talking about my rant. He said some men just need a pocket pussy. They don't deserve women. Amen, man. Amen. It's important for men to talk about this stuff. Don't be embarrassed. That was Cheryl said. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Like I was hoping I wasn't going too far, but like I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't want to rehash it, but I don't get it. I would never understand because I don't want to get X-rated. I don't want to get too X-rated. But sex is enjoyable when a woman enjoys it. Period. Other than that, you can get great lube, get a sex doll. You can simulate a lot of the feelings of sex. Like, hopefully this is not too much, but you guys ever got a blowjob from a girl who really bad at it? Like, I have. It's not the best. It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest. I've been there. So, like, sex itself, the feeling of it is great, but what makes it the next level and what makes it much better than just masturbating is knowing that you set your partner off, right? I ain't it there because I'm not gonna have it too X-rated here. I love that you guys are commentating. I even said Nick, you're killing me. Yeah, I can get pretty messy. Megan there said they want power. They feel powerful when they dominate women. Is that simple? Yep, that's what it is. I just don't. That's not in my blood. I don't get it. Every American is a Russian bot. I heard it on the news. The Democratic primaries are proof that cheating is rampant among Dems. Once again, I don't like pushing stuff I don't have evidence for. But dude, when you see stuff like Joe Biden winning every county in Michigan, where Bernie Sanders did amazing in, where he signed NAFTA, he supported NAFTA, that doesn't make sense to me, bro. It doesn't make sense. And then you hear the people on the ground who had constant complaints about how shady the election was. I talked to my friend Seema and Johnny on Twitter. They told me a story how he literally had to tell people to go back to their voting booths because they had officials that was telling them that the polling location is closed. Like, there's so many shady stuff that local activists seen. And don't even get me started on the Shout app in Iowa. I covered that plenty. Let me get through some of these questions. I'm not going to round that right now. What bots don't do is donate, and Bernie had the most unique donors. Yep, that's what I was talking about earlier with the fact that Bernie had legitimate support. If like Biden beat Trump by 8 million, but I swear to God, if Bernie was the nominee, we would have won the Senate, we would have gained House seats, and we would have won by like 10 million. Oh, not even close. Your Let Low tweet got less pushback than the Georgia Senate one. Yeah. So people say I'm weak on Republicans, but I laugh when they fucking die. I made my tweet earlier. My tweet I made, I was like, man, hopefully people don't get mad at me when I tweet this out. But it actually got like, last time I saw it was like 7,000 likes. So I was like, when even people die, that's just funny. I don't care what no one say. Glenn Greenwald, bless his heart, because I actually like his content, was being kind of a dweeb when he was complaining about people getting mad, laughing at this guy who was a COVID denier and someone who was more than happy when sacrificing your life for COVID. But I'm supposed to feel bad when he get COVID. Like he wanted school to stay open, he wanted business to stay open, and he didn't want financial rewards for people. So fuck him. It's funny when he dies. I'll die on that. I'll die on that. I'll die on that grave. There's not a lot of stances I want to die on, but I'll die on that grave because the ruling class wants nothing more for us to forgive their evil. There was a good tweet that got a lot of likes, I'm glad it did, underneath me, where it said we need to be less forgiving of the ruling class. And I want you to understand that's what it is. The ruling class wants to be able to profit. They want to be able to push war. They want to be able to do all this stuff with no consequence. Hell no. If you're John McCain, if you're a war criminal, I will laugh and stomp and piss on your grave. Because if you don't want people to laugh at you in death, live your life in honor. Very, very simple. If you don't want to live, and the thing is really like, what happened if you die? People laugh at you when you die. Okay, I guess I was an asshole. And guess what? I don't care because I'm fucking dead. I'm fucking dead. I don't care. So the least we can do when you have someone who's evil, the least you can do is shit on their grave. Make their family hear your complaints about them. So maybe if they be like, what about the families? What about they hurt their feelings? Fuck their feelings. You should know that your dad was a piece of shit. So when you grow up, you're not gonna be a piece of shit, or you to have people laugh at you when you die. It's very unfortunate. It's very sad that they had dads a piece of shit, but use this as a learning lesson. So I want to die on that hill. I would die on that hill. I even said that's hell of a microaggression. Yeah, talking about the racist tweet. Sienna said thanks for having me on. Hell yeah. Always fun talking to you, Sienna. I'm gonna bring some other people on. I got you guys, cause this is how I show appreciation for you guys being some of my early supporters. Cheryl said it's so ugly and dismissive, talking about the white libs. Yep, that's exactly what it is. And this kind of stuff we deal with white libs in our entire life. Ugly, dismissive attitudes towards us. The classism you see that our liberals, they show that in real life at a maximum. I'll tell you, I work with these people all my entire life. I know them. Me and young black people can tell you about them. My dad got stories for your ass. You said the ratio now is 338 to 1. God bless her for not deleting the tweet. God bless her for doing that. Her comment was worth the sick ratio. And the thing is, I highly doubt that they're going to take anything from this. Because I remember I ratioed one of those racist ladies, the one, another bad one where she was like, yeah, I'll call your ass a fucking Uncle Tom. She wasn't unapologetic. She was like, the leftists are coming after me. The leftists are coming after me. That show how racist they really are, because I can forgive them if they just being ignorant. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that what I was saying is offensive. But this is what I was trying to say. Like, that is not perfect, but I at least can understand that and accept that. What they do is they double down. They were like, no, fuck you. Yeah, I'll call your ass Uncle Tom. You leftists are just out of line. I can talk to you this way. They literally believe this. And people want to think there's a difference between the racism. I mean, there's a different kind of racism, but it's still racism at the end of the day. Megan there said the irony too is that they charge black leftists as public accounts are wearing digital blackface when K-Hive is literally white people wearing digital blackface. Amen. And one of my I remember when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden won Times Person of the Year. My reply to that tweet went viral because I literally posted just a picture that before Kamala Harris pulled out, where she only had 1% black support, and I was like, bro, I hope you guys realize that K-Hive is literally just white people pretending to be black because the numbers don't add up. And that tweet went viral. I'm glad it did. Cheryl was like, why would anyone want to align with the Democrat Party with people like that sticking their neck out to be racist? I don't know. That's a goddamn good question. It's hard not to, like, it's really, really hard not to vote shape progressive Biden voters, but I'm not going to do that because I think it's mean. I can continue to make my overall greater point. Sienna said the first thing I hear when I turn the voice chat back on is Nick talking about blowjobs. I'm still a guy, guys. I'm just a political nerd on Twitter. I am me. I already knew how y'all reaction was gonna be on that. Yeah, that's how I know it's about time to get off. I'm about 3 hours in. Actually, this would be a good time. I'll call it right back. So we're literally at the exact 3 hour mark. So I ended right there. I had fun time on the stream. Like I told you, I'm a beast, bro. You can invite my ass on Rogan. Invite my ass on Rogan. I can do 3 hours like it's nothing. Cause my problem I usually make is I don't eat before my streams. A lot of times I'll be fucking starving, but I ate right before this one. I can keep going, but I'm gonna spend the time editing and trying to release some stuff on YouTube. So if you're on Twitter, yeah, check out the Progressive Martial Artist. I got it linked. So I'm doing, like, I'm gonna expand my media empire this next year. So let me end it on this thought. I have a lot planned for 2021. Some things I don't want to say yet because they're still in production, but I got a lot of stuff planned. I'm gonna get into writing. Hopefully, if we can get COVID under control, I can do actual on the field reporting. Gain legitimacy. Continue to gain legitimacy in the leftist sphere, because when you look at the Force to Vote town hall yesterday, the only person on the Force to Vote town hall that doesn't follow me is Cornel West. Everyone else follow me. They all like me and they all retweet me and stuff. So maybe what if next year I can get the legitimacy for they can invite me to stuff like that. I already had a call with Nick Bryan and talking about ranked choice voting and part of my activism I was doing with Break the Duopoly. But trust me, my plan is to expand this black leftist media sphere and be a citizen journalist. I got a lot of good things working on 2021. Some I can't even get into yet because they're still in development. So anyone who's watching now, all my comrades, all my homies that leaving great comments on every time I stream, I deeply appreciate all you guys. Deeply appreciate Meganator, Sienna, I Envy Me, Rocky Flame, Wavy God NYC, like all these people that I see regularly in my stream. I appreciate you guys, cause you was like the OG supporters, the OG people who follow and watch my stream. But I got a lot of plans in 2021 to become legitimate, because this is my breakout year. I gained literally 3,000 followers this year. I was unknown. I started out as just some guy who quit a job to help the Bernie Sanders campaign. That's how I got my initial clout, because that was a big thing on Twitter at the time. And I was telling people stories when I was canvassing, and then I gained like 40,000 followers since the Bernie dropped out doing what I do. So now I'm taking that to the next level. I told you guys I was learning how to be a Twitch streamer. Like, you guys see all my technical issues I have that I'm getting better at resolving. My YouTube videos went from me just shooting on tablet. Now I think they much better quality now. So this